We on. Hey, I got a question. Do you guys donate to like GoFundMe accounts or like when people have like the Facebook thing?
Don't answer. Because this is not questions by Carl.
All right, then. That's
so you want to write the question down and have me ask it?
I'm so glad we got a guest today.
I'm just messing with you.
I'm so glad we got a guest today.
Typically, no.
No what?
I don't give money.
Okay. Do you, Cease?
What?
Give money to like GoFundMe accounts and stuff like that online?
Yeah, sure, why not? I give it to homeless people that I've never met before, so why wouldn't I believe the story of somebody that I potentially follow on social media?
My only point of this, my biggest fear, and I had heard a story from someone the other day, is that they would take that money and do something else with it. So a grandmother was supposed to spend that money on I guess like funeral arrangements.
Yeah.
Went off and pocketed that money.
Hey, can you spare some change so I can feed my family? And then you see the person going to get drunk. You don't do it because of what they're going to do with the money. You do it because of like what it makes you feel in your heart.
Quite frankly, I just don't do it because I feel like GoFundMe keeps a portion. So I feel like if the person really needs money, you should just give it directly to them. But cue the intro. Hey y'all, it's just Chris Starr.
Big Mouth Cec.
Your boy Normal Ass Carl.
With Grown Folks Business.
Grown Folks Business.
Like your mama used to tell you, stay out of grown folks' business.
I mean, I'm grown.
I'm grown too.
Shit, we all grown.
Welcome to Grown Folks Business.
You drinking that smooth move.
That was you. So y'all, Carl was in here. Yeah, I got this throat coat. I go in the kitchen. I'm like, bruh, that is smooth move. You're going to be running to the bathroom in the middle of our podcast.
I'm good, man. I made it
For
that
now.
far.
I'm just mad the smooth move felt good on his throat.
It did. It helped me.
Because he was like, no, the benefits of this right here.
Yeah,
First of all,
it
pause
gets you
all
right.
this. This smooth move felt good on his throat is wild.
I mean, you said it.
But
I
it
need
did.
you to overload me with sounds.
What?
All podcasts, baby.
What are you talking about?
I need you to overload
that
me with
soundboard
sounds.
active.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we need that action.
that is really strange.
I need that. It is strange. Yeah, yeah, it was really strange.
I need you to overload me. I've never overloaded you with anything.
Start where can they find us at?
As always. As always, you can find us.
No, not in Cease's voice.
Oh.
He was imitating me for you to do you.
You know I stay ready to do a season impersonation.
Man, Sunday Star is trash. Not just playing.
I'm feeling personally attacked on Grown Folks Business, and that's BIZNESS.
On Facebook and Instagram, and you can get your merch at www.grownfolksbusiness.bigcartel.com.
You can out me.
Apparently not.
Not John to you. Anybody have anything popping going on over the last 13 days?
Well, first of all, Happy New Year to all of our grown folks.
Happy New Year's.
Happy New...
This is our second New Year podcast.
Wow, yeah. This is the second time y'all running a new year with us. So 2019 finna be lit. I always say every year is my year, and I haven't lied yet. So I'm expecting 2019 to be no different.
Let's do our plug real quick. We did do a New Year's wrap up on Nothing to Lose podcast. It
Yes, we
dropped
did.
yesterday, which is Tuesday.
We did?
Me and Star did. They only wanted the real.
Okay, so listen.
They only wanted the real. Oh, now
the
you got to
gift
tell the
that
whole
keeps
story.
on giving.
Now he's got to tell the whole story.
I was going to ask y'all about this off air, but I figured it'd be good for the podcast. So did y'all talk about me?
Well, hell yeah, we did.
On the recording?
Yeah, I think so. They do things a little differently. No, yeah, we did.
I think you came up, like they would reference things that we've said on our podcast before.
But we
then-
talked about you in unison. It was great to have a collective that all agreed about you.
So
From different backgrounds.
So listen. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I was hopeful that you two would go because I knew that you guys couldn't go somewhere without talking about me.
We made an hour and a half without talking about you.
So, without hearing it yet, was y'all talking shit?
No, we can never.
Shit, I was.
Okay,
I ain't gonna lie.
fair enough.
Not that I'm better than you or nothing. That was like the.
We did talk about that.
That was there. That Joey loved that. I
bet he did.
He loved seeing you riled up for some reason. I don't know what it is.
Most people do.
And anything about getting you riled up, he was like, "Yeah, I'm all for it, man."
Well, that's my friend, so I guess he's just doing his job then, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we all collectively got word on the street this time.
Yes, we did.
So, and I got a few questions, and I've been told by you guys and some members of the public that we need to be a little bit more expeditious. So I'm gonna just ask y'all a few questions right off the bat, and then we're gonna get a word in the street. Okay?
When you say expeditious, what do you mean by that?
Like meaning like getting to the point as quickly as possible.
I ain't mad at them.
Expeditiously.
If they
without
still made
faltering.
it. They still made it through.
Okay. So how do you guys feel about when people put people on blast on social media?
I hate it.
Okay. Is there ever a time that it's appropriate?
Maybe like on like if you if you're in the shade room comments or something.
No. So if your girl is out here being scandalous and don't think that she'll ever get caught and really got you out here looking like a fool, and you find that out via maybe some screenshots that somebody sent you, do you ever feel like you'd be in a space to post that on social media so people knew how foul she really was?
Nah, because once I'm normal ass Carl, so nobody care if I'm out here making a public apology on my IG following or nothing like that.
Star, have you ever been in a position where you had to put somebody on blast on social media?
Nah, for what?
Have you ever seen it and felt like it was warranted?
No.
Okay.
I also feel like silence is golden, though. If you don't say anything, it'll go away.
And then let's flip it real quick. You ever been put on blast on social media?
Not that I'm aware of.
Nah.
Oh, okay. I have.
I won't say no. I'm not aware of it.
Gotcha. So that wasn't blast if you weren't aware.
I can see you being blasted on social media.
Oh, well, y'all know what happened. So there you go.
Oh, yeah.
It happens. So
I missed all of that. I'm so mad I missed everything.
well, we won't even give it the shine that it wanted to have.
Yeah.
Y'all dreaming?
I ask people that. Do they still dream? I definitely ask people, like, do y'all still dream?
At night?
Yeah. When you sleep.
I don't remember them, though.
Sometimes I do, and I wake up and I'll be having to check stuff. Like,
Wait, I'm glad he said that, because I heard somebody say that and I want to fight him. You have dreams that you don't remember, but you know you dream.
I'm sure, yeah.
You have dreams that you don't remember.
well, you don't
but
remember the details, but
I don't remember.
Like,
I wake up by
like
11
in a very vivid situation.
Yeah, by 11 o'clock, it's like, what was I dreaming? It's like thinking about something. You know what I mean? It's like, what was I thinking about yesterday that was fire? And then you just don't remember what it was.
I don't dream at all anymore.
You do. You just don't remember them.
No.
I swear, dreaming is like thinking when you sleep. I'm sure we can Wikipedia.
Fitbit, so that we can see what your sleep cycle looks like. Because that means you're probably
definitely sleeps with
not
a pillow
entering
between
your
his
sleep
legs.
cycles as you should.
Oh, no. I sleep in multiple increments through the night. I couldn't tell you the last time I actually slept through the night.
That's probably why you don't dream, because you're probably just not going through that sleep cycle.
Probably. So what are y'all dreaming about again?
Life, different events, stuff.
So you ever had a dream about being regular?
I feel like you'd be in a coma if you don't dream, though, Cease. What'd he say?
Wait, what did you say?
I said you ever had a dream about being regular height? Like what it would be like?
I've thought about that, and it makes me sad every time.
You don't want that.
I don't want those problems.
A dream is a succession of images, ideas, and emotions and sensations that occur involuntarily. I know you definitely. If you're not dreaming, you're in a comatose state, probably like zero brain activity.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Speaking of words, shout out to B&B Lighting on Instagram for letting me know that my word connoisseur was definitely on point last episode.
All right, so you ready for the next question?
Next question.
I guess this is specifically for. Well, I guess I could freaking for Star too. So Star, you're out, right, and you're with your dude, and you guys say, "Hey, let's go get massages."
Oh.
Are you tripping if he's tripping that your masseuse is a man?
I would hope he wouldn't trip off of that.
Are you tripping if he's tripping that your masseuse is a man?
Oh, that's.
I feel like I would just get somebody else. If that makes you uncomfortable, I would just get somebody else.
Carl, you letting a man give you a massage?
I have.
So I'm
They be getting in.
I have.
Them knuckles.
Not voluntarily though.
I'm gonna keep it real with you. I think I'm about to let a man massage me.
They be getting it in. The knuckles,
No,
The knuckles
well, let
and
me
the
explain
elbows.
this little piece that happened to me real quick. Then I went in. You go in the happy head massage spot, and then you go in there face down, and then the masseuse comes out. So you
face down.
You go in there into the thing, and so the person comes in, starts getting to the rubbing, and I was like, oh, she's got a good medium grip, and then the whisper came in. would you like it hard or soft? I said, oh shit, man. Like, what, man, you gotta warm me up to that, man. You can't just come in here like straight James Earl Jones voice into my ear talk about you want it hard or soft. Like that.
So is there a certain type of man that you'd prefer a massage from?
Well, when I got up out the table and I seen who it was, he was the guy that was right for the job. Like,
Describe him.
He was bae.
No, he wasn't.
He looked
bae.
good. You wanted him to
Describe
back
him.
that
He
thing up?
definitely he was an Asian dude. And
You
he
let him hit?
Nah, man. Bro definitely looks like he just drinks a 2-liter and eats boxes of pizza all day.
So
like,
listen.
I was like, yo, that's cool, bro.
Listen, look, I don't want nobody to get the wrong idea when I said that. Like, I'm actively seeking out a man to give me a massage because it got to be like a certain type of man though. Like, I know what he looked like in my mind.
What do you look like, Cease?
Like, he got to be older, he got to be white, he got to be skinny.
And he gotta have candy in his pocket.
Well, no, he got to have glasses. I don't know why, but
You
he
stupid.
But
Hit me with the board.
But he got to have glasses, and I want him to have like
man.
multiple degrees.
Get your board right.
Wait a minute, man! I'm trying to tell you my story.
I
Y'all
want
over
you
here-
to tell a joke and put it in. He got to be right with glasses.
He got to be older and he got to be skinny.
and he like you.
Yeah,
They're
baby.
gonna start a fire. He rubbed too hard.
All right. Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Hey, I know I'm supposed to be hitting stuff on the soundboard, but a man.
That was funny.
Stupid.
I can't stand
All right, what's the next question you got up?
Let's see. I got one more question for y'all. I'll pull it right back up right now. Okay, so this was like a topic, and I've been asking like multiple people this, and I actually wanted it to be word on the street because I felt like people were getting their bag. No pun intended. Where y'all getting your groceries?
Oh, I definitely had a conversation about this yesterday.
Okay, no, so I'm gonna do you one better because I feel like where y'all getting your groceries could have multiple answers. Where y'all definitely not going to get your groceries?
Ralph's.
Because everybody sell
I
groceries.
get my groceries from Ralph's.
No,
What's
wait. So
Ralph's.
Ralph's, and why?
It's expensive for no reason.
Okay, expensive for no reason. Anything else?
I feel like the portion sizes that they give you for the meat and stuff like that is BS. They got a lot more BS on the counter. Like, okay, now when I say BS, some people may care that their meat is grass fed. You know what I mean? Or that their beef, the cow was eating grass fed.
I don't know if I go to Vons for those types of products specifically, but go ahead.
I go anywhere where the food is
Ralph's.
cheap. I don't have any like.
Or Ralph's, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any eating restrictions other than just like the fact that I can't have seafood and stuff like that. But I'm not gonna pay for. I personally enjoy going to Vallarta or any Mexican superstar. Yeah. IGA, I heard, is another one that people like to go to. I like to go to places where they have meat already seasoned and I can go in there. I'm definitely not going to Sprouts. They don't build them in the hood anyway.
Wait, why are you definitely not going to Sprouts?
Because they don't build them around me. The closest Sprouts to me is probably what? The one at Hillcrest. There's not one.
There's one in North Park.
And there's one in La Mesa.
Yeah, exactly. That's out of the way for me. Like when I got 4 or 5 grocery stores that are here, we're at anyway. So it's like, I'm not doing that.
Okay, I'm rolling.
Yeah.
Star, where are you not definitely getting your groceries from?
I tend to avoid food for less.
What about Target?
I get groceries.
Why
from
do you not
Target.
like food for less?
Wait. Let's pause right there because that was the overwhelming answer that I've heard from people.
It's like the Walmart of like people wise. I
Just like
guess.
But what is wrong with food for less?
If they fruit be on this last leg, like you got to eat their fruit tonight.
Oh, but see, and I have somewhere I go specifically for fruit, so I never would go in there for that anyway.
So for me, I'm more of a one-stop shop. Like, where can I get everything I need at one
Oh,
stop?
yeah, I'll never be like that ever again.
Food for less just makes me frustrated every time I go. So I stick to Ralph's generally because it's the closest and the most all-inclusive grocery shopping. And then I will get groceries at Target occasionally. I can't get everything I need at Target, but I can come up at Target and survive.
Trader Joe's has some good stuff, but I like them for specialty items only. Like what's that butter?
Cookie butter?
Cookie butter is fire.
Ooh, see, you remember when I stole your cookie butter?
You remember when we all had this very unhealthy attachment to cookie butter in that office?
We was putting it on everything.
Oh my god!
I was putting on apples.
I see Crystal put it on her thumb.
I would say something, but I probably did that.
Yeah, cookie
I was
butter
eating
is
it on
fire.
a spoon for sure.
I was stealing it out of Caesar's
God.
bag and just spreading it on rice
I
cakes.
erased his name off the cap of cookie butter and wrote my own.
Like, nah, I don't
He was
even.
like, "That's mine. It got my name." Oh, okay. You gonna erase my name?
Nah, brother, you got to get your own.
That was bum.
Are we getting any? Have you guys ever been in a Sam's Club?
No, I don't have a. I still need to show ID to get
That's
inside
like
a Sam's Club.
That's like below Costco just because they're not everywhere.
Which is interesting because anybody that I know that has a membership to Sam's Club would spit on you for saying that it was below Costco. Like they would take extreme expense.
I'm saying that in
In
terms
your
of like
face.
in terms of accessibility. There's Costco's everywhere. There's one Sam's Club, and that's the one by the 24-hour fitness.
And so we researched it earlier. There's two that we could readily get to, and one of them wasn't readily accessible. We were just saying that because it was in a certain mile vicinity.
Got you.
So Star's buying groceries from Target.
Sometimes.
Carl?
Target and Ralph's are my go-to.
No, I'm not doing that.
Would you buy them from Walmart?
No.
Wait, why wouldn't you buy groceries from Target?
Yeah.
That's expensive there too.
No, it's not.
And they don't have everything.
Get
We
on
just
Cartwheel.
went into a Walmart for potato salad and they didn't have it in there.
That
Remember
is true. We
But
went
that's
in there.
Walmart. That's not Target.
Man, and I tell you what, man, depending on what Walmart you go to, you really see like it's hard times out here.
Look.
Hey, and it's funny too because you know
Look.
how like the popular stigma is that Walmarts tend to be highly populated with, and this isn't my term. This is just something I heard one day with like white trash. But if you go to Walmarts in certain areas that just don't have white people, it still be some trash in there. It just don't be white.
Man.
And we had an experience the other day. We were like,
Every
"Where
time.
are we?"
And you're like, where do they live?
No,
What's
yeah.
No.
We were in
We're saying
Where
they were
y'all
off the
coming
15.
from?
Listen,
They were off the
Where y'all
15.
coming
Listen,
from?
we were in a nice neighborhood,
neighbor is
and we
this?
were like, "We know y'all don't live here, so why are y'all here?"
We started thinking about neighborhoods that was like 4 or 5 miles away. Like, well, man, maybe they made it through that way.
If you would have seen how many times Carl tapped his pocket to see if his wallet was
Nah, I
still in
ain't do
there,
all that.
I said, "Oh, that brother shook."
I ain't do all that. They had some
Funny.
weird little food
And then when
place
they
in
opened
there.
up the Walmart on Crenshaw, at the Crenshaw Mall, man,
That's a bit
emergency only.
much. That's a bit much.
Emergencies only.
That population is a very interesting bunch. Okay, you guys ready for word on the street?
Let's do it.
Those were my questions.
That's good.
I only
Yeah.
had a few today. So did we all have the same question?
We'll find out. Let's just find
Carl scared me.
I'm
The
only-
way he was texting when he was asking questions.
Well, first of all, I was drunk for 4 that I did, man. It was ridiculous.
Well, I'm only asking because before we hear from our folks, do we want to provide an answer to the question?
Let's
No,
do
let's
it.
hear from the
Let's do it after.
yeah, let's hear from the folks first.
Fair enough. Y'all got a
Because
point.
we're gonna provide commentary after we do word on the street or during word on the street anyway.
I'm trying to predict what
They
I'm
love
gonna
this. Some
do.
people was like, man, y'all should have put that on the front of the episode. So here, y'all get it where y'all want it.
Y'all won in the word of
All right, Charles. Normally that's Carl. I'm here at Punch Bowl with my man. What's your name, brother?
Anthony.
All right, my man Anthony. Anthony, where you from? I knew, hey, bro, you always pause it the first 7 seconds. You so damn predictable, man. Why? You just, he can't go 7
that
seconds
pause.
withod trying to play me.
needed that
He
pause.
said, man, I'm just going to
Oh,
get
it was
Carl.
Offset, not Future.
I'm
my
going to
bad.
give Carl 7 seconds and I'm about to
Listen.
pause this shit.
Listen,
Anthony.
I'm glad Christar knew.
I was
why-
sober then. I was sober during that
No,
one.
we're wondering about Anthony. We're not worried about you right now. And Anthony, if you're listening, we're not making fun of you.
Oh, my God.
This is just what we do for
Anthony
fun.
was a genuine ass dude.
So
too.
we hope you're having
love
fun
Anthony.
too. So here's
Anthony, you got to come to the palace one
so
day.
grown folks. Here's Anthony.
I'm from the Bay Area.
He's from the Bay Area. Anthony, so here's my question for you. Do you have a New Year's resolution this year?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so
I
what
jacked
is your
this
New
up,
Year's
too.
resolution for this year?
I wanna start reading books.
You want to start reading books?
Let's
And
find
what type
Anthony
of reading
Vinnie.
books? For kids, or you want to do it for like adults, or what kind of books?
I thought he said writing
Learning
books.
for my profession. What I'm like trying to be good at.
What is your profession right now?
I'm a software engineer.
Software engineer?
Hey, Anthony.
Okay, have you thought of a title or a name for your book, or when you want to have it out by?
Stop yelling at
I
me.
want to do something with fundamentals, like people who want to get into it.
Oh, so kind of like a startup, like for dummies type thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
All right, man, I appreciate you, brother. Yo, I thought he said he wanted to read and write books. So I was like, hey, you thought of a name for your book yet? He was like, nah, man, I just want to do something like fundamentals and stuff. Like,
I just want to sharpen my craft, brother.
But I like that Anthony said something doable and simple. because I feel like I feel like some of the examples that I've seen from other people is they have these very grandiose ideas about how they're going to like completely change their lives, as opposed to taking the first step towards changing their life. So it sounds like Anthony wants to read books, but then he reinforced his desire to read books with just wanting to, gain a better foundation about certain things. And then from that foundation, I can only assume that he's going to try to build upon that with other pieces of knowledge just to kind of, strengthen his repertoire and whatever it is that he does.
And he stayed safe when you asked about writing. Fundamentals.
Yeah, he was like, man, I ain't messing with you there,
because you ain't gonna ask no more questions about fundamentals.
But I think that should be a goal, man. I mean, we used to do our for the cultures more on books, man. So I mean, I think we all could do a bit more reading. Yeah, I know. At some point, you was.
Wait, what?
I was trying to catch up.
With book
life.
What are you talking about?
I was reading for a good 4 or 5 months, man, and then life just took me over to a whole nother.
Look.
Trying to live my best life and looking at Star on her vacation.
Okay. Here y'all go.
So start, now that you've heard the first question, was your question the same?
Yes.
13 or 14?
13.
All right, here we go.
Wait, no, 14
14 it is. I'm glad I asked.
Wait, let me double check.
We're about to find out right now. Grown Folks Business.
No, 13.
Hey.
Oh, wait, yeah, 14, sorry.
Man, oh man.
Hey y'all, it's just Chris Starr with Grown Folks Business. We have a word on the street segment. What's your name and where you from?
My name is Brittany, and I'm from Los Angeles, California.
Well, at least he fair. at least dog is fair,
Hey,
man.
You got a picture of Brittany?
Yes.
Let me see.
I'm going to shout her out, too, for some other reasons.
Let me
but
see. Yeah, I'm going to shout her out, too. Let me see the picture. All right, here we go.
Let me see.
It's mid-video.
Brad in the house. Okay, so y'all, Brittany is a fan for real. Super happy to have her for this segment. Brittany, I have a question. New Year's resolutions, how do you feel about them?
I actually love them because it gives you something to like aspire to, and it gives you something to really like hold yourself accountable to, or for. Which one?
Both. Either or.
Both.
In what ways do you typically hold yourself accountable to resolutions?
Well, I can only give you an example. Last year, I told myself I was going to do the Daniel fast in the beginning of the year.
Can you tell the people what that is?
Daniel fast is when you give up something that you're pretty much addicted to. And I love sweets. I love social media. I love other things. And I decided to give.
Oh, sorry. Listen, you were distracted.
She's got an iPhone 3GS.
You was distracted me.
Lord.
Man, if we start from the beginning.
Social media, sweets, breads, and all type of, I forgot what else it was. I think it was social media, sweets, and breads.
Okay.
And all type of carbs. And it was just the best experience. And I was so proud that I was able to like really stick through it. Because I'm the type of person, like, I'll tell myself to do something and maybe I'll do it.
So what made this round of resolutions different?
I just changed churches, and my church was starting this Daniel fast, and I really wanted to do something with my church, and so we would check in with each other each service. So the next Sunday we would check in, and it's like, this is what's going on. And then I think that third service by the end of, third service of January, we were at the end of the fast, and everybody kind of completed what they wanted to complete it, and it was just the best experience to know that I can like stick with something.
Yeah.
I
Boom.
psych myself out all the time. I say I'll stick with it, and then I don't, and then I'm over it, and then it's just like, okay, well, girl, next month.
All right, yeah, we gonna try this again on Monday.
Maybe. Maybe.
All right, y'all, that was word on the street, so right back to you.
I think the one thing that she brought up that I like the most is that this is something that she could stick to. So what Cece was going to ask us in the beginning was, do we have any New Year's resolutions? And I do have New Year's resolutions. He was going to ask, I believe that's what you were going to ask us, right?
Go ahead.
All right. That was what he was going to ask us. Because sometimes I feel like she has a manageable goal right now. You know what I mean? I personally used to hate them because I would have goals that weren't manageable and I'd forget what they were by the time March came. You said something in another podcast that we did, and you said, I don't like, necessarily doing them January 1st because I feel like that's a hard date that I have to start on. Why not start fourth quarter? You know what I mean? So, and I thought about that too. I was like, she's got a point there. Like, if it's something that you feel like you can make that change now, don't put it, on that hard, fast date. But if it's something that's manageable and it's not going to be something that you forget in, a month or two or whatever, or you can constantly work on it, I could see where her goals were. Like social media was one of the things that she said she was addicted to, sugar, like sugary foods and stuff like that.
But I think the key point, or one of the key points that I heard, is that accountability matters. When you have somebody who you're checking in with and you are in it together, it definitely helps. I think a lot of times we try to achieve things on our own, no matter what it is. And like as humans, we're literally not meant to live life alone. Like our entire lives are about relationships. So it's like having that accountability and having that structure in place helps you and keeps you motivated to achieve some of these goals. So that's the piece that I love the most about Brit's
Have y'all
thing.
Have y'all ever fasted?
Yeah.
Don't look at me.
No, okay, no.
I thought you was being funny.
No,
like,
and I'm glad that you thought that
Yeah.
because this is an important teaching moment.
Yes.
Star, I want you to tell us what you fasted of or deprived yourself of so that he'll then know that it doesn't have to specifically be about food.
Yeah, mine was actually secular music while I was driving.
I remember that.
And
And tell me what somebody might think of as something that just isn't that much of a big deal. What effect that had on you?
Man, like I didn't realize how much and how often I was just literally filling my ears, my body, my soul with trash, like complete and utter trash. And so when I fasted off of secular music, secular being worldly or just non-gospel, so it was R&B, rap, pop, anything that was not gospel. I listened to only gospel during this time of Lent, and that was probably one of the.
You did it for Lent?
I did that time. I did it for Lent initially, and there was just like so much more clarity. Like I felt like open. I felt like a weight lifted off. I felt like I was just closer to God. Like it was a really powerful experience because people always go to fasting from food and sweets, and when I hear that, I'm like, you're not doing that for God. You're doing that for yourself, and you're trying to disguise it as a fast for God. Like you're just trying to get in shape and just say that I'm not eating this so I can get in shape. But that was something that I did to literally strengthen my relationship with God, and it was powerful for me.
So, Carl, I'm going to repeat the question with a little fluff to it. So maybe not for religious purposes, but have you ever deprived yourself from something to hopefully gain some type of self-improvement?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say no to that. I mean, I've deprived myself maybe of toxic situations or people.
Okay.
And then just to get that moment of clarity and then come back to it, and then, have a different outlook on it.
Okay. Very good.
And before we move off of Brittany, oh wait, have you ever fasted, Cease?
Honestly, that when I used to smoke cigarettes, it started with the fast, and then I just never smoked another cigarette again.
Okay, that works. Before we move off of Brittany, I just want to shout her out because I'm super proud of her. I grew up with Brittany. We went to a bunch of B2K concerts together. We love each other.
Frame of reference.
B2K is hot. So Brittany just started a YouTube page for cooking. She's an amazing cook. So I'm really excited and proud of her for doing what she's doing.
She cooks or she cooks and bakes?
She cooks primarily. She probably bakes too, but she cooks.
Okay, I was gonna say I need some grown folks.
So
cupcakes.
she made some macaroni and cheese the right way. And so
The right way.
Her YouTube page is Brittany, and that's BRITTANY made it. So go ahead and check Brittany made it out.
Awesome.
No, Brittany made it. Period. Check it out.
So listen, since
Brittany made it out is a whole other YouTube page. Brittany made it out.
Hey, low key, that's
Brittany.
I was so damn confused.
That's the sequel to Shawshank Redemption.
Brittany made it out, y'all. No, Brittany made it.
Oh, that's making
Period.
a murder.
Check
3.
it out. Exclamation
Made it
point.
out.
Brittany made it.
Okay, so look, since I didn't go last week, can I do 2 this week?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
It's your world.
So I'm gonna do this one first.
Let the people rock out. Hey, who told you that we need to get straight to the point? Tell me
All right,
later.
Big Mouth C's here, Grown Folks Business. I'm here for another segment of Word on the Street.
He don't sound too
Got my
enthused.
buddy here with me. Can you tell the
pause
folks
it.
what your name is?
Pause like
pause it on
you. Yeah, pause it on you. Yo, bro did not sound enthused at all.
We don't
All
even
right.
get to laugh at the person. We just gonna laugh at you.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, this is Big Mouth Cease. I'm out here again. They got me out here recording y'all.
Podcast. What's your hand doing this?
Listen,
Hey, this Big Mouth Cease, bro.
I didn't hear it like that, so we gonna run it back.
Right now.
All right, Big Mouth Cease here, Grown Folks Business. I'm here for another segment of work.
Listen, I'm here for another segment of War on the Street. You sound like Anthony.
Wait,
I'm here
so
for
y'all
another
kind of right.
Yeah, it was like,
I'm about to apologize to my man if I run into him. Like, look, man, I give you the energy I usually have on the podcast.
Right, don't take that as
All right, man, come on.
All right, listen.
On the street, got my buddy here with me. Can you tell the folks what your name is?
My name is Paul Hams. Nice to meet everyone.
And then
Never
where are
been
you
named?
from, born and raised, and then where are you currently residing now?
I'm from Vallejo, but might as well say I was raised in San Diego and I live in El Cajon.
Okay, right on. So we are approaching the end of the year. As a matter of fact, it will be here by midnight tomorrow night. And I'm just wondering, okay, first and foremost, do you believe in New Year's resolutions? And if you do, did you make any? And if you don't, why don't you?
I used to believe in New Year's resolutions until I actually started working at the gym.
Okay.
And the reason why I don't believe in them is that you knew you've had a problem this whole time.
Okay.
So you need to fix it now. Let's not wait till later. Now. You have a chance now.
Oh,
Do
going
it now.
ham.
Okay. And then in regards to your next year, because you
Go
seem like
ham.
somebody that's pretty driven and dedicated to the goals that you set for yourself, what's a resolution of sorts that you have for this upcoming year?
I'm going to be debt-free
Okay.
and a professional MMA fighter.
Oh, nice. Which one's going to come first?
Paul don't
Probably
even
the
know.
debt.
Oh, you're going to fight the debt. Okay.
Yeah, fight the debt. That's the hardest battle.
Right on.
Gotta
I'm
get
with
that
that.
credit score up.
All right. Grown Folks Business, word on the street. Big Mouth Cease. We out of here.
Now,
Paul
Paul's-
Hams with ham.
Paul sounds like the guy, right? And you could tell. Does Paul do like training and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah. He competes.
Paul, he's the guy that motivates himself when he's running. Like, come on, man, we only got 4 minutes left. Let's get to it. Push through. Like, he's that guy that's gonna motivate you to do some shit.
Well, no, and
You
just
said you knew you had a problem.
and just from talking. No, listen.
He ain't lying though.
No, but
you
just-
didn't wake up like that.
Just from talking to him,
You woke up like this.
see, he seems like a processes guy, where it's like, all right,
Yeah.
well, this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3, this is step 4, and what a lot of people like to do is they like to fill in between those steps with like dialogue and commentary, like, oh, but in my childhood and my mother
No,
was
he said, Vallejo, but I live in San Diego.
very,
Now I live in El Cajon.
very to
1,
the
2,
point.
3.
Yeah. There
Bullet
wasn't,
point.
There wasn't much more than what you needed to hear or gather from
I'm here for Paul.
his response to the question. So I really like Paul's straightforwardness, and I like how he ended it where he basically gave an aspiration and a necessity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the MMA thing is an aspiration. If it doesn't work out for him, then I'm quite sure he'll put in enough work to feel like he gained enough from the culture to better himself. But the debt-free one, like, you can't really get around that.
Goals.
Either you're gonna be debt free or you're not.
Hello.
And I'm glad that he brought both of those up because and then you even kind of alluded to like, oh, his MMA is gonna come first. He's like, no, I'm grown. You know what I mean? And from what I know about Paul's a married man, so he could be fighting all his life, but he gotta get that debt
He
down.
said he gonna be fighting all
Listen.
this.
Well,
Like,
no, you have context.
But
Usually when people have a debt-free goal, it's a beast.
yeah, I mean, but I just the fact that he knew that both were gonna be lengthy processes, but that he put the debt free first. Because everything else, you know what I mean, can kind of be done.
I was thinking fight MMA and win so you can pay the debt off.
Oh, no.
That was how I was thinking.
And interestingly,
Get more money, and then you put that money towards your debt.
and I would only assume that from his standpoint, it's not necessarily about the money, it's about the art form.
That's fair.
Yeah. And then I think,
I get money.
do you know? All right, so here's another one.
I got Tourette's.
So this is Big Mouth Cease here coming from
There's the energy.
Oh,
There's the energy we
welcome
needed so
back.
badly.
Y'all like that?
Yeah.
Like that? That was me?
Back.
It's like 2 different people.
Hey, so now watch when I mess it up, y'all gonna make fun of me again. So we just start over. Here we go. So this is Big Mouth Cease here coming from the Grown Folks Business Podcast with another segment of Word on the Street. So can you tell me your name?
Come on, from a
Britt.
And sorry, what's your name?
John.
Okay. So this is a very simple question that I have for y'all. Well, first question, where are you guys from?
San Diego.
Okay, San Diego born and raised?
Great running things in
Very
this
cool.
relationship.
So the question is, do you believe in... Interesting that you said that. Because when I met them, I didn't know they were a couple.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but then come to later find out they are definitely a couple. So it's interesting that you picked that up.
Okay.
San
New
Diego,
Year's
San Diego.
resolutions, and do you have one for 2019? Britt, you're gonna go first.
Yes, I do. I do believe in wanting to better yourself. I don't necessarily think it needs to be on the 1st of January, but
Good point.
mine is just to raise my vibrations and kind of shed the old behavioral patterns that I had and focus on making better ones, really.
I like it.
Yeah,
Okay.
consistency.
What about you?
I used to not, but you know what? I think maybe
After messing with Brit, I got one.
if it's a reason to get yourself going on a new direction or whatever like that, then go ahead and use it. You know what I mean? It's okay.
Oh, awesome. Anything else you'd like to add? And that means, so remember, podcast, Grown Folks Business.
Yeah.
And now you guys are part of the Grown
That's
Folks.
right. That's
Awesome.
right.
Thank
Do
you.
you get to answer this question too?
We're on air.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
I like it.
He's like on air.
Running this podcast.
Hey, no. So a
She
couple
almost
things.
had you for half a second.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you. So Britt has a podcast, right?
Oh.
And Britt's real dope because she was really excited to participate and was asking a lot of different questions about just what it meant to be a grown folk and how she could be involved in different ways that she could help us. But she gave me a gem that I couldn't have even created for myself. She told us that since they're at the beginning stages of their podcast and they have a theme and they haven't really sold themselves on a name, she said that she would give us the opportunity to think of a potential name based upon the theme of the podcast. And if it worked, they'd use it.
Interesting.
What's the theme of the podcast?
So there, and then I feel like this is something that we
Is
can.
this part? This is not her New Year's resolution.
No,
man.
it's not. But that's why
We're
I
doing
wanted
what
to
your
do.
name is for the podcast?
I wanted to do two because they spoke in a general sense about just improving upon yourself. So I think that's been the theme of everything that we've heard. But if we're just focusing in on this podcast and the potential name, it's about substance abuse and recovery. And I feel like it was one of those things where it was like, so you have the story about being in the midst of substance abuse. You even have the story about people that have overcome it. But then what comes next? What do you do with that? Do you just live a blissful life? Do you use what you've learned to then help other people? Or do you just totally disregard it as if there wasn't a portion of your life? And I bring those three components up because I've seen individuals respectively deal with substance abuse in those three specific ways, and I'm quite sure that we've all seen it in a number of different ways even outside of those. So if we were thinking of that theme, what's a clever name that you could think that you could call a podcast?
Well, one, I personally would say for your podcast, for people, you're gonna have people in your corner that are gonna say, oh, like, you know, we're gonna listen to it and we enjoy it and whatnot, but you want to have something that people are like, I want to know what their podcast is about based off of the name. And then once they start listening to your podcast, it's like, oh, I get it now. So the first thing that popped into my head was simplicity, 2 words, what after? Question mark would be a good name.
What after? Star, anything come to mind for you?
Well, when I think of substance abuse, I typically think of getting high. So I would lean towards like the Staying Grounded podcast.
So, you know,
Something like Stay Grounded.
oh, it's like the opposite of
Yeah,
getting
because it's the
high.
opposite of getting high, staying grounded.
Interesting.
You're welcome. No, I'm just kidding.
Staying grounded.
See, you still look like you thinking about yours.
Yeah, like I there was a number of, you know what I mean? Like the I guess the thing that came to mind wasn't even necessarily like a name. I just thought it was really dope.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, that as a host, and she shared a little bit about me, or a little bit about herself, and I hope that it's okay that I'm sharing this right now, just about experiences that she's had within that realm and how it's motivated her to open up that conversation so that people don't feel like they're alone.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where even if sometimes you want to have the conversation, but it's tough to have that conversation with somebody looking right back at you because you're then taking judgment from the things that they're not saying also. So it's good that it's going to be on a platform where somebody can take it in doses, pause it, come back to it, think about it, rewind it, and really get that therapeutic experience in the exact way that they need it.
No, that's
I
real.
think that's really cool.
Shout out, Britt. That's dope.
Yeah, Britt. So I'm glad that I had ran into her for actually a second time so that I could have a follow-up conversation with her because she had told me about the podcast but didn't really get into detail, and then at the last minute I was able to have a conversation with her, and I told her I would definitely shout her out because I feel like anybody that's dealing with that, chances are they're not going to come to you and openly tell you about that. A lot of people deal with that in the dark on their own. And I'm just glad that Britt's opening up an avenue for them to be able to, even if they're not directly communicating with the person, to have that conversation be had in a space where somebody could potentially receive it.
For sure.
Yeah. Carl, anything else?
No, that was good.
Okay. So we did
What's your resolution, C? So we didn't get to that.
2019.
Yeah.
Listen, I only want to do one thing in 2019. Like I only have one goal.
Develop your calves.
No, I don't really.
I'm just playing. Serious note.
So you guys know I applied to grad school.
Yes, you did.
So one of the
Hit a round of applause. Yeah.
I'm not gonna clap myself
I'm
up,
gonna
but
clap you up.
we could say good job.
See, you know what I
Listen.
mean? Hey, he could be quick to call me a hater, but I try to build him up, man. He ain't gonna take it.
Oh, you think you better than me?
He does.
No, I don't.
So
I gotta listen to that last episode.
So with that, I was just telling myself that one of the pieces to that journey was taking the GRE. We got to get a certain score on the GRE. I got my GRE scores back. So even that I was proud of because for years I had let that intimidate me.
Yeah.
And then the moment that I did it, and I didn't even study, I just said, just do it. Because you've been waiting. You've been waiting so long that you owe it to yourself to just do it, and then you'll have somewhere to like build upon if you didn't do as well. I did excellent.
Good.
So
math section saved me.
Yeah. So we'll find out about grad school this year. So that'll be a thing to look forward to. But really, I just want a dog. That's it.
Something to take care of.
Yeah. Like I feel like, and I was telling somebody this other day, and we can end on this note. I asked for a lot of things, and I feel like significant things happen in my life in 5-year increments. Mm-hmm. So if I think back to 5 years ago, everything that I said to myself, if I do this, I'll be happy. I've done that, and then
and
some.
more.
So I'm blessed. So to like make a resolution about what needs to change, like I want to be more thankful for what I have before I get more. Because if I get more right now and my mind and my heart and my soul isn't right, I'm just going to lose it because I'm not going to be able to appreciate it. So I just want to be able to appreciate what I have right now.
Gratitude.
So that when the next blessing comes, I'm in prime position to be able to receive it and do with it what I need to.
Gratitude.
Yeah. So that's my resolution, just trying to be more appreciative of what I already have and expectation of what's to come.
Got you.
Are they going to have to listen to Nothing to Lose for our resolution?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give them that shine. If you want to listen to me and Star's resolution, go ahead and check out Nothing to Lose podcast.
Yeah. Star and Carl. That's it. Yeah. So if you listen to this podcast just because of me, then you just got your fix.
I think Tony named ours the realest. That's what he called ours.
The episode?
The realest. Yeah.
It's because y'all black. So I'm real.
They were itching to do that piece too, and jacked it all the way up.
I'm sure. Because you was
Carl tried to start it. I'm like, sir, you can't start it.
Oh, she looked like me. Like when I started, I knew how I started. Like, all right, if I say it first, this is how it's gonna go. And as soon as I said, I'm grown. She was like, well, what do I, Carl? You don't normally say it.
You're not supposed to start it. Everybody knows.
And listen. You know why I'm real bad? Because I made that up. Aww. And then y'all gonna take it somewhere. Hey, we're not even doing it this time. We out of here. Podcast over.
Bye.
We all grown folks business podcast. Thanks for listening.
Appreciate you.
Anything else? No, for real.
Star, you said
I low-key feel like we should share a little bit. Maybe not the full spiel.
Well, you know what? Now that we've hyped it up so much, go listen to Nothing to Lose podcast. Those are definitely friends of the show. Before they had their own podcast, those were some of our first listeners. So if you guys like us, give them a little bit of shine. Go back and listen to the previous episodes and catch Star and Carl's New Year's resolutions for 2019.
I think it's worth a listen to, especially this week.
It was a great episode.
Or if you run out of stuff to listen to on your normal like diet of stuff that you listen to and everything. I know you probably hated that.
No, it's fine.
Okay, the diet of stuff that you're listening to.
It was impeccable.
It's a good hour and 15 listen. And we did a whole end of the year wrap up.
And now, the RunAround.
All right, it's time for the RunAround, y'all.
The RunAround.
My eyes slowly open. My arm slowly rises up and grabs the paintbrush from its resting place. I place the paintbrush in the cup of water. I shake it dry, yet still moist. I dip it into a cup of red paint. I stare at it as it drips like blood, contemplates whether it is a sign of life given or life taken. I use this brush. I use this color. I paint a distant future where love and family find a space within hypermasculinity, where showcasing love for one another will not elicit stares normally relegated to the eye contact bestowed upon women. I paint in love. I paint in blood. I paint in the destruction of patriarchal norms. I paint in pedicure. I paint in softball. I paint in WNBA. I paint in reality show. I paint in soap opera. I paint in pink. I paint in kisses. I paint in hugs. I paint in the divine feminine. I paint in me. I paint in him. R. Preston Clark, Vinnie a love letter.
Hey, get
I
lit,
like
get
that.
lit.
It gets real intense too. The last like 2 or 3 lines, it gets really.
Listen, I got questions because he said I paint in WNBA. I was like, that means something.
It does mean something.
That's one of those things that grabs your attention and makes you want a further explanation of what was being said right there, what that represented, and what evoked that feeling. But before we get into that too much, as you guys probably can already tell, we have a guest today.
Whoop, whoop.
And you already told them what your government name is. So can you repeat that for the folks?
My pen name is R. Preston Clark, but my government name is Ronald Preston Clark. So,
Okay,
yeah,
I like that.
Ronald.
And then give them your social media tags real quick too.
R. Preston Clark on Twitter, R. Preston Clark on IG, Ronald Preston Clark on Facebook, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so you gave us the names that you provided to yourself, which is great. But in your hand, do you remember those little pieces of paper that I handed you?
Mm-hmm.
In your hand, you have some ideas that we have here for a name that we could use for you on the podcast, and by all means, afterwards, you can use it. But before you open that up, the name of the segment is What Your Name Is, right?
Okay.
It's a little contest that we do along with trivia, where we try to compete against each other to see like who envisioned our guest without really knowing them that well through the name.
Okay.
So as you look at these names, I really want you to not just look at the name and how it sounds, but how it makes you feel.
Got you. Do
How
I,
it makes
do
you
I need
feel.
to react to each one as I go, or do I look at all of them?
Whatever
and then-
feels right.
All right. Let's consume all three.
Excuse the spelling on any of them.
Right.
On one of them specifically, it sounds like.
All right.
Oh, you
you
gotta
gotta read
read
out
that
loud.
out so they know.
First one is Deep Like Preston.
Deep like Preston.
All right.
Like Preston, that's good.
That's got 2 meanings.
The next one is author of all things right, but right is spelt as a writer instead of the direction.
Okay.
Okay.
And
They had a vision. It was cool.
The last one is Vinnie Vici.
There you
Vinnie
go.
Vici. Okay.
I get that. I get the play on words. I'm gonna have to roll with author of all things right though.
Okay.
right.
Carl, that was yours, right?
Nah.
That wasn't yours? No, that was yours. That was
I
yours.
got it.
'Cause
I
mine
got
was
it.
the,
I see what you coming with.
author of all things right. Well, I appreciate
Here
that.
you go.
Yeah, I got
You
it
picked the wrong one, brother.
So
Deep
the-
Like Preston was fire.
So listen, that's a little bit of a gift from us here at Grown Folks
Appreciate
Business to
it.
kind of commemorate your being on the podcast and being able to talk about some things that you got going on. Now, we started off the RunAround with an excerpt from what?
From my first novel. It came out in September. I dropped it on my birthday.
Okay.
Because I felt like my most lit day of the year on my page is my birthday. So
Okay.
you put happy birthday, I dropped a link, and then, that's how you get sales.
What's
So,
the name of the novel?
The book is called Vinnie a Love Letter.
Okay.
And it's a novel centered around a 14-year-old black male named Vinnie Smith. And we'll get into the details later, but I have my little spiel I usually run down. But
Okay.
it's been a beautiful process, man. It's been kind of crazy.
With being the author of all things right, I'm just wondering, how do you get to the point of saying, I have a book idea, I want to write a book? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
The way it came about was crazy. A friend of mine, Erica Buddington, who I really look up to and always tell her that she does everything I do, but better. She's an educator, she's a poet, she's an MC, and she's also a writer.
She's local out here in San Diego?
No, she's in New York.
Okay.
I met
Shout
her.
out, shout out.
I met her in college at Hampton University.
Okay.
Shout out to Hampton. But she had a website, and she was looking for guest fiction writers. And basically, you would write a chapter per week. She posted on your page, and at the end of the process, she would print a novella for you. And so I was like, oh, I'd love to do that. And so I shot her another story I was working on. But because she's an educator, she likes to keep her website PG-13.
That's fair.
The first one I shot her was hella adult. So when she read it, she was like, I want to use you, but do you have something else? And I was like, I didn't have anything laid out to the point where I could actually write a full-length novel. And so I'm going through and I'm just thinking, and I'm looking at my catalog, and I actually took Vinnie out of a screenplay I had previously written when I was at the program of professional screenwriting at UCLA called Play Clothes. And I did the whole Shonda Rhimes joint where, like, my lead characters were white, but my best characters weren't. And so, because that's a Hollywood trick in order to get your name in the door.
Right.
And so, Vinnie's story Vinnie was my favorite character in that screenplay.
Gotcha.
And I had always wanted to do something with him by himself. And so, originally, I wanted to write another screenplay around him. But I looked at my stuff, and I was like, you know what, let me see if I can kind of flesh out his story a little bit and see if I can do something through prose. Because my biggest fear as a novelist was always, can I hold the same theme or process or character for a long stretch of time?
Yeah.
And so
I never thought of that being a fear.
Yeah, it's because I've started.
That's legit though. That
yeah,
is.
like I've started and stopped plenty of stories, but to be able to hold into that same energy for a long stretch of time, is difficult. And so I shot her like part one of what ended up being chapter one of this, and she was like, "Yes, let's do this," and I was like, "Bet." And so I started writing for her site. I dropped like 10 chapters on her site. Then she ended up starting her doing another site without the guest fiction writers. And so I asked her, "Yo, is it okay if I take my story somewhere else?" So I started a new website and I posted about the first 16 chapters of this, but I didn't want to post a whole book online.
Right.
So I stopped at 16 chapters and then ended up writing the rest. It took me about 2.5 years to finish the whole book. I started writing December 2015. I wrote off and on for pretty much the first 2 years or so. Wrote about 28,000 words in that stretch. Then I had 2 really emotional events happen in my life in February. And then from March 22nd to May 26th, I wrote 45,000 words. This was my therapy. This was my catharsis. Like I dove into this at a level I'd never dove into anything. And I can tell when it happens, but people can't tell. My writing level goes up a notch once the moment hits when I've started writing in the 2 months. Right. So like once that first 28,000 is done, because I was a better writer when I started again. And I had an emotional base to write from. Right. And so I wrote from pain for 2 months, and then I had my book.
Got you.
Wow. That is beautiful.
That's a lot to digest, and it's like a lot of good information though too, man. It's like that whole process, that 2-year process that you just laid out. It's like you put your all into it. You know what I mean? I mean, even right now, like when you came in, we were watching football, and you was like, "Hey, man, I'd be at home, like reading or just getting my knowledge up." And it's like you have to draw on from influence. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying in that piece.
I know it. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of influence, you spoke a little bit about some of the people to us before we started. Can you let the people know who your biggest artistic influences are?
Well, as a writer, I have a Mount Rushmore of writers. These are the writers who, when I talk to young writers, I say you need to read to write. And so all of us can read for entertainment purposes, but you need to read and actually analyze the syntax being used, the diction being used, the punctuation being used, the voice being used. Actually read it for craft and not just for fun. And so the 4 writers I study the most and read the most are James Baldwin, who's the greatest of all time. There's no argument. William Shakespeare is not a factor around here. James Baldwin, Tim O'Brien, who his book, The Things They Carry, was given to me in a screenwriting class. His voice is so strong off the page that they give screenwriters his prose. That's how dope he is. Toni Morrison, who is, of course, a goddess of literature, and Junot Diaz, who is basically a literary gangster. So all of their styles at different points in the book, people have told me they see them in my own style. Yeah. And so that's the biggest compliment you can give me. So those would be my 4. With Colson Whitehead, who I'm currently reading right now, number 5, and he's trying to break down the door. I don't know whose spot he would take, but he's trying to get on that list, because that man's literary ability is just at a whole other level.
I'm trying to get to that. Like what he's talking about, like as a community and even as myself, where we look up to literature and writing as much as we do music. You know what I mean? And everything else. You know what I mean? Me personally, I haven't, unless I'm talking to someone that has that, intellectual ability to go out there and get more and read and stuff like that. You don't run into the average person saying, you know what? These are my list of writers or poets and stuff like that, I really love, at least in my circles. I can't speak for everyone else in here, but I'm trying to see more of that, specifically, at least in my community. It's like we look more up, to people who are doing something that's positive, and on top of that, along the educational phase. You know what I mean? That's just me.
What I think this is one of the first times that we've been able to see people that look like us doing these things.
Yeah.
Like we have an example, not just in the product that's being put out but by the individuals who are putting out the product. And it's coming from like all different angles, because really to be a writer, it's kind of like doing certain professions where you don't necessarily have to have a degree in that profession. Like anybody with a story to tell can be a writer. And we've even read some books. I don't know if you guys have ever read what's the book called by the pimp? It's called Pimp.
No, you're talking about Iceberg Slim?
Iceberg Slim. Great book, but to read it is like not like reading your typical piece of literature, but that, like, to your point, that adds to it. Like the lack of punctuation, the abbreviation of certain words, the conveyance of the slang that people are talking as opposed to like saying the literal word adds to the book. One of my favorite books. But
I almost call those gateway books.
Okay.
Like as a teacher, when I run across a kid who doesn't like to read, it's never that they don't like to read. It's that they haven't been introduced to something that they would read. So which is a whole different concept. And so I use what I call gateway books to get a kid to trust my judgment with books before I hand them something really good. So I had a girl, she was 9th grader, extra stereotypical in regards to being a black girl. You know, all the stereotypes you can potentially think of, this girl embodied.
Name 3 of them.
Loud.
Okay.
Louder. and
did she have box braids?
And an attitude problem.
Okay.
Like, to other people, not in Mr. Clark's class.
Gotcha.
And so, I'm looking at her and I'm like, what am I gonna give you? So I handed her Sister Soldier's Coldest Winter Ever.
Yeah.
And I said, that's a 300-something page book. I handed it to her. She's like, Mr. Clark, what you giving me? I was like, just read it. I promise you. She was like, I was like, you trust me? She was like, not really. And I was like, trust me. And she was like, so I handed her the book. She comes back maybe 3 to 4 weeks later. Mr. Clark, what did you give me? This book was amazing, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I know. I tried to tell you. She's like, what else you got? Asada by Asada Shakur is her next book. So I went from this fictional character that meant something to her because she saw herself in her.
Right.
Now I'm giving you somebody that you need to see yourself in.
Yeah.
And so your next book is Asada.
That's deep.
So then after that, it's Alice Walker. After that, it's Toni Morton. Like now, she's coming to me. It got to a point where kids weren't going to the library. They were coming to me for their literary choices because they go to the library, they're going to get Eurocentrism everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if they come to
That's
me,
the part
it's
because
black.
I know, like, even in middle school, I used to hate reading until I got introduced to Eric Jerome Dickey and
With all them
Omar
colorful books
Tyree.
everywhere.
And yes,
Yeah, Fly Girl,
and I
Friends
know,
and Lovers. Yep.
I'm pretty sure my parents were like, "Ooh, I don't even know if she should be reading these kind of books." But at the same time, I was like, "But she's reading."
I was reading Zane and Foot Locker in the back.
Okay,
Like,
so to
Easy
that-
peasy, right?
You made a comment earlier, and I want you to repeat it because it made my mind go to like the depictions that we see of people in color in films, but then knowing that those roles or the dialogue that's associated with those roles a lot of times isn't written by people of color. And then to like be in the reverse, I'm just wondering for yourself, when you're writing for somebody who isn't of the same background as you, do you feel like you face that same difficulty and even at the same time responsibility to promote that character in a certain way?
Well, it's been interesting because in writing Vinnie, there's always the fear as a writer that
I remember what you said now.
You think you're writing something or saying something, but it's not until it leaves your hands and gets to other people where you're no longer a part of their experience that or a part of the experience that you start to see what actually you wrote.
That's
and so
we
like,
do that.
Yeah.
like, even with
people listen to the podcast,
Well, no,
and
when
they say
people
stuff,
when,
we're
pe-
like,
when,
"Oh,
when somebody tells me that they're listening to the podcast, I'm like, where you at?
right."
And then as
let me listen while you listen.
I'm listening to it with their ear now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've literally had people hit me up and tell me what page they're on, and I'll start reading with them.
Yeah.
And then when they hit me up again, I'm like, okay, now I'm spiritually in the same space that you are as a reader. And I've had people come to me and tell me stuff about the book that I didn't even know I did. Like an emotion that was created, or a feeling that they had about this character, or a reaction to a particular line, like all these different things. And I'm like, it's so beautiful. It's 260 pages of writing. It's 73,000 words, and everyone's going to experience it differently.
Completely differently.
Vinny's best friend in the book is a white boy, and he's basically I describe him as almost like a Stand By Me, Sandlot kind of gritty kind of white boy. You know, dirty jeans, white t-shirt type of thing. And for him to be friends with this emotionally understanding black boy, like the dichotomy between the two of them is just powerful.
Explain the story a little bit too of Vinny so that people can understand. Cece has a question real quick though.
When you say emotionally understanding, is that like synonymous with having a strong connection with feminism as a man?
He what's funny is that he represents everything that's both positive and negative about masculinity. And so what you're watching is this boy who is on a journey to figure out what his best representation of masculinity is.
Okay.
And a lot of it comes back to the fact that us as black men, other people define our masculinity for us. He is defining his own. So
can you give me an example?
Yeah,
of that?
I need an example.
So, all right, so
not that I disagree. I just want an example.
Prime example. In the book, there's a scene where because the majority of the book is spent in his head. There's not a lot. There's not a lot of action outside.
Got you.
Now the story is of course being told, but the primary space you're in is his thought process, which is what made it so emotionally stressful for me to write, because I had to channel this kid. Like if it sounded like my words were going on the paper, I knew I had to start over. Because Vinnie wrote the book. I didn't write the book. Vinnie wrote it.
Gotcha.
And so there's a scene where he talks about if his best friend Walter wanted to express his love for him through kissing him, he wouldn't initiate that, but he wouldn't be mad at him for showing himself in that way. And so it's an over-exaggerated way of looking at how we're allowed to be expressive of our emotions, because the society and patriarchy has defined how males are allowed to express themselves. He has a girlfriend.
Vinnie
Clear
does.
as day. Yeah, Vinnie. Vinnie has a girlfriend, and it's clear as day that he loves girls. But at the same time, his interactions with males is going to make you question his sexuality, and that's on purpose. I want you to question his sexuality and then turn around and question your questioning of his sexuality. That's one of the primary things that I was trying to get at while writing it was, first I want you to question it, and then I want you to question your questioning. And then you do that over and over again on various topics in reading the book.
Gotcha.
What were your primary goals? I know you just talked about questioning your questioning of sexuality, especially as it pertains to the black man. But did you have any other goals as you were writing this novel that you wanted your readers to take from it or experience?
Toni Morrison has a quote where she says, "I wrote my first novel because I wanted to read it." And that's always stuck with me, because they say writers write what you know. And he has an estrangement to his father. I have an estrangement to mine. I've been told that I have that I'm in touch with my feminine side, but I've also been in spaces where my own sensitivities has been thrown against me as if it was a flaw. And I'm like, no, I'm still a grown tail man. Like, I'm still.
You can say ass. It's cool.
Okay, I had to check first.
Nah,
before,
we got the explicit stamp on it. Don't worry.
Yeah, so I'm still a grown ass man, and women love me, and I love them. But at the same time, I get pedicures.
Amen. Don't be
Mud
scratching me at
baths are
night.
one of the greatest things that ever happened to me. I've had a facial. Like, it's funny because the older I get and the more comfortable I actually am in my masculinity, the more feminine stuff I do. Because to me,
wait.
We're living the dream.
Yeah.
Ladies are living the dream.
Y'all been pampering yourselves correctly for years. Like, there's actually a
living the
spot
dream.
in LA right now that this black dude opened that is set up like a barbershop, except for you can get like,
Is it hammer
manicure.
and nails?
I forgot what it's called. I haven't actually been.
That's a thing.
I think it's
don't know
hammer,
if it's the
but
same
I think
place
it's
he's
a
talking
brilliant
about.
I think it's called
It's a
hammer and
brilliant
nails, and it's
I
like,
never heard of it. That's pretty good.
And like,
Yeah.
I mean, and honestly, a lot of this stuff is are dope dates. Like in Grossmont, there's a pedicure spot where you can drink wine. So I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, so
North
let me
Park
bring
too.
me and my girl and go, somewhere like that. So I just, as I've gotten older, and there's no way to knock me off of my masculinity. So what I do with it is my business and how I'm going to handle it. So it's been in expressing myself through this, I was able to have an outlet to really to cause conversations around how we define masculinity. And Bell Hooks, who's one of my favorite writers,
I love Bell Hooks.
the will to change men, masculinity, and love changed my life. Like how she brought up the whole fact that as men were introduced to anger and violence at such a young age, by 5 years old, we've already been given a toy gun. We're playing football, and we're told not to cry. And then you wonder why we have 25-year-old men who don't know how to express themselves.
Right.
So, but then on top of that, masculinity is defined by both men and women. Because if I do non-masculine things towards a woman who views masculinity toxically, she's going to react toxically. So that whole dichotomy has just been something I've just been a part of over the last few years, and it really was being deep with me. And as I started writing Vinnie, I didn't know it was going to go that way. Like in the beginning, it was just like a really powerful story about this kid who the primary part was the cutting. But when it got to further than that, what the spirit of the novel was, I had to go through some painful things first. And then once I got through those, I was like, oh, snap, that's what this book is about. And so now it's a 260-page opus of just emotion, and nobody has read it and not cried.
I love it.
Most people have told me after about 40 pages or so, they have to put it down. Like it's not a straight through read. You're not going to just power through this book, and that's on purpose. And I want you to also throw it at a wall because you need to get mad at some point. So.
Okay, so I need to get a paper copy and not
use
my Kindle. When I'm reading it, I don't want to throw the
Kindle
Kindle at the wall.
Don't throw your Kindle.
But one of the things that I love that you talked about is that when you define who you are for yourself, it doesn't matter. No one else can shake you off that identity. And I think that's the piece that a lot of people, even our generation, are really missing. We're so busy doing it for the gram, doing things to impress other people, and to be what they expect us to be based on their social definitions of everything. So when you do define who you are, it's unshakable. And that's what I hear you say when you talk about your own journey through expressing your masculinity and femininity and how it encompasses who you are today. So that's really dope. I'm here for that.
Yeah, one of my best friends in high school said, he never said a whole bunch of stuff deep, but you know how one of your friends would give you that one line? You're
one
like,
line.
Where did that come from? And he said, mediocrity is easy. That's why everybody does it.
Heck yeah.
Greatness takes work. So it's really easy to just fall in line, but nobody has ever made a difference or ever made change or been great at something by doing it like everybody else. That's not how you stand out.
That's a good point.
It's true.
Okay, so I'm quite sure that we'd love to hear more from this gentleman, but I'm a firm believer in hitting them in the beginning and hitting them in the end to make the biggest impact. So we'll get to the...
There's a lot of connotations with that.
Hey, I ain't mad.
Listen. That's your business, grown folks.
Grown folks business.
So I'm thinking that we could do trivia, and then we can end on, because we started with what you've worked on. But I want
to be a paintbrush with kisses too.
I want
That was
to end.
my line.
I want to end with some of the things that you're aspiring to do, some of the things that you're motivated to, some of the things that you would like other people to be motivated to do, because it kind of sounds like more so than just trying to promote yourself. You're really in the business of empowering people to kind of reach their full potential as it pertains to things that they may not have just been accustomed or introduced to previously that you feel like could be beneficial in their life.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we're doing trivia, the three of us.
Yes.
Okay, so what's trivia called? Can somebody tell them?
It's called Got Him.
Okay.
Got him.
You remember when
that's
Wendell?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So we'll add the
takes a
drop
lot
in
out
there
of me.
somewhere.
All right.
So when we do trivia, it goes like this. You'll read the question. At any point when you're reading the question, we have the opportunity to say,
Got him.
when we do, you have to stop the question. For that person that said,
Got him. I don't know how many more of these I have, Steve.
We normally have a board when we do it. Don't worry about it. It's not as intense.
so when they
And we're not
say
going to scream that every time we got him.
No. I just like got him.
you'll stop the question, and from what you've said, they have to answer the question. If they're not able to answer the question for the remaining participants, you can repeat the whole question unless somebody does the same thing.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Bet.
So this has got them.
All right.
So whenever you're ready.
All right, first question. What is the top grossing film of all time?
Got him. Titanic.
Incorrect.
Damn.
Got him. Black Panther.
Incorrect. That's number 9.
Dang.
Titanic's number 2.
Dang, man. I had a feeling.
Oh, I read something that said that they just surpassed them, but I think it was only box office, not of all time. Say Coming to America.
Oh, so you saying all time, not just...
No, I'm saying the all-time box office leader worldwide. What film is it?
Got them, Star Wars?
Incorrect.
What is it?
Avatar.
Oh, Avatar was legit.
Yeah.
Avatar.
And it makes me wonder, was it
forgot about that
because
movie.
more people went to go see that movie, or because that
The movie's
was
trash. That's the funny part about it.
Well, was that one of the first movies
like the
where they were able
graphics.
to get in that high ticket for the IMAX and the 3D stuff?
It definitely did help, but I don't know what James Cameron did to society to make everybody see this whacktail movie. Like,
I think it was just because they weren't.
they were all big on the, oh, look at the graphics. We've been had graphics. This ain't nothing new. This was adult Fern Gully. Like, it was Fern Gully with adult characters. I was so mad at that
Fern
movie.
Gully is funny.
I was so mad at that movie, bro. And what's crazy is James Cameron did Titanic too.
Yeah.
So he literally has
Number
the
one.
top, like he has some kind of mental device on us that makes us go to his movie.
You know, I still get mad every time I think about Rose throwing that diamond in the ocean. At the
I
end.
still get mad at her going, "I'll never let go," and then dropping
And then
brother
pushing
in
him, not even letting go. She pushed him.
She was like,
into
"Get off me,
water.
bro! I gotta go live."
I'll never let go. Splish.
I gotta go live. It's great. Question 2.
All right. Top grossing animated film of all time.
Got him. Lion King.
Incorrect.
Animated film.
Animated.
Got him. Frozen.
Correct.
Hey!
Was that your guess?
Let it
Oh
go.
no, I was still wrong. I was gonna
Nah.
say Toy Story.
Let it go.
Yeah, Lion King was for the longest, but then like these new Pixar's have been.
Frozen
Gotcha.
was
Yeah.
a beautiful story.
Yeah, Frozen was crazy. All right, y'all better get this one. What is Michael Jordan's middle name?
Oh shoot.
Got him. Jeffrey.
Correct.
I was gonna say Bay. Michael Bay Jordan.
Oh, you know what? All
They
right,
got two. We didn't specify. That
Cross
that one
trash
don't count.
today.
No, I'm just kidding.
here we go. What college did Oprah attend?
Got him. She didn't go to college.
Incorrect.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like that
It
was wrong.
seemed like a trick question.
Got him. West Virginia.
Incorrect.
Columbia.
Incorrect. Tennessee State University at your
I wouldn't-
HBCU.
I wouldn't have got that.
Yeah, I had to show some HBCU level.
There
We
you
see
go.
out here.
All right. What is currently the longest running weekly open mic in San Diego?
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a really good one.
They about to get some free promo off us.
Open mic.
Got him. It's the one you do.
The one I did, but what is its name?
I don't know.
Vinnie's Corner.
Vinnie's Corner.
Yeah, it's at Queen Bee's every Tuesday. It's called Lyrical Exchange.
Lyrical
Exchange. Now we gonna have to check that out.
Yeah,
Hey,
I
Kendra
hosted for 4 years. The last 2 years, Amin Ra, who is one of my best friends, and he went to Hampton too. We started it together, but he had to leave to go to North Carolina, and so I hosted it by myself for 4 years. And then when I left, he took over. So we're about to have our 6-year anniversary show
When is that?
in January.
Okay, you will have to let us know.
Yeah, first Tuesday in January.
Okay.
I'm gonna put it in my passion planner.
Yeah, do that. All right.
Don't look at me like that. I'm talking about the
Passion
passion planner.
planner.
So
That's what it's called.
That seems like something you get after 2 years of marriage.
Don't ask no questions.
all right, so we really gonna get it in.
Okay.
All right. What movie and actor did Denzel lose to when he was snubbed by the Oscars for his iconic role in Malcolm X in 1992?
What movie and
What
actor?
movie and actor did Denzel lose to when he was snubbed by the
Got him?
Oscars for his iconic role?
No, this is too late. I was gonna say Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump.
I was gonna say the same thing.
1992.
Although that wouldn't have been
Bro,
a
I was
snub.
3 years old.
Were you thought about?
Huh? Yeah.
weren't
No,
grown
I
back
was
then.
talking about it. I wasn't in school and that
You
at
weren't
that
grown
point.
back then.
Nah, not even close.
92.
92.
Were you born?
Yeah, I was born. Man, don't play me, man.
Barley.
Born
Yeah.
I was in the 80s.
80 what?
80.
Okay.
You the
He was
last
on the cusp.
89 plus 2.
last of the
He was
whole.
the cusp.
Oh, man.
December birthday too? Yeah, you barely made
It's
it.
on me just to make a guess, huh?
I haven't guessed yet.
Oh.
I don't know the answer either.
I don't either.
I know it was somebody
Can
white.
I take another
no.
guess?
No.
If y'all not gonna guess though.
Yeah, that's all. You got a guess? I'm
She
good.
can't guess again though.
No, she can't guess.
I
You
can't
got
guess
the
for
answer?
a win.
What's
I
the
was
answer?
gonna say Robin Williams.
Nah, it's Al Pacino for Scent of a Woman.
Mm.
So basically, the way I always explain it, because I love when folks say, "Oh, this person should have won for blah 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 blah." You have to look at every single year as its own entity. There's some years where the 5 people that are nominated should all win,
Yeah,
but you have to give it
that's
to one
real.
person.
Yeah.
And then there's some years where all 5 are like, and they have to give it to somebody. Like when Colin Firth won for King's Speech, nobody's going to remember that role
Ever.
or that award. But there's some years that are just absolutely, utterly loaded. And so what happened with Denzel, because people always say, oh, Denzel should have more than blah, blah, blah. Like, yes, but I went through his actual career and looked at the actual years and the actual roles in which he was up for something. And the only one he has a legit gripe for is that one. was Scent of a Woman for Al Pacino. The funny part is that Al Pacino, that Scent of a Woman Academy Award was a career achievement award for all the years he had gotten screwed. So Training Day ended up being, even though that should be Denzel's second one, that was his career achievement award, because that was finally a year where they were like, oh, we can finally give one to Denzel.
Gotcha.
And so that's why when people say, oh, this person should have this, like, y'all got to actually go back and look and actually say who they were up against.
Yeah.
A great actor doesn't necessarily yield that result if everybody was killing it that year.
Exactly. Like,
Macklemore still shouldn't have a Grammy though.
Funny part is, you know how we had,
still mad?
you know how we had that long stretch where everything was about, dang, Leonardo DiCaprio doesn't have one, right? You know, 2 of his he lost to black actors. That's actually my bonus question if we get to it.
All right,
so anyways,
I got that. Got him.
All right, so
Leonardo DiCaprio.
No,
that's not the
who
question.
are the 2 black actors and what
he's
movies?
part of the question.
Exactly.
All right, so next question. And clearly I'm a movie buff.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
what movie beat out The Color Purple for Best Picture at the Oscars? Remember, Color Purple had 11 nominations that year and didn't get any awards.
Well, can you tell us the year? Yeah.
Oh, it was 80. What year did Color Purple?
Carl, it's not gonna matter to you.
It was before.
It's not gonna matter to
Wait,
me.
The Color Purple wasn't the 90s, the movie?
Color Purple?
No.
Man, he came ready.
Y'all said trivia.
Lord, I have no clue.
Yeah, I have no clue either. Go ahead and give it up.
The irony of it is the title, once I tell you.
Oh, man.
The Color Blue.
No,
No, but it has like
Grapes of Wrath.
Nah, I hated that book though. Right, that's the one book I fight
We
the
just
most
gonna name book?
as an educator.
I was
Lord of the Flies.
I was thinking something purple.
Nah, so out of Africa, which ironically had Meryl Streep in it.
Is that where that song came from too? There's like an Africa song that everybody loves by Toto.
Oh, I have no clue. But
It's a bomb song.
yeah, they Out of Africa beat out Color Purple, even though Color Purple was the most nominated film of that year.
Interesting.
Even with Steven Spielberg as the helmer, as a director, they still couldn't pull off any awards, which is pretty terrible.
It is.
All right, this is number 8.
Oh dang!
Since
I'm the only person with a point.
I got one.
Oh yeah.
All right,
So, pray I don't get it right.
Jeffrey.
And then I'll give you guys one bonus.
Bay.
All right, so since Halle Berry's Best Actress win at the Oscars, only 2 black women have been nominated since. Who are the 2 women, and what movies were they in?
For Best Actress?
Mm-hmm. Now, Holly won hers in 2001, so these are all 2000.
Was that for Monsters Ball?
Yeah, for Monsters Ball.
Yeah. I feel like I know one. Can we do half points?
We do have points since we made it this far.
if you get one of them you should get. The other one it might be a little difficult.
Oh,
and
man.
it's for Best Actress.
Best Actress.
I want to say Viola Davis for... I want to go The Help.
Correct.
Okay.
She is one of them.
We give her the win.
She's one of them. But who's the
I'll
other?
take that half point.
He asked a very specific question if we've never done half points.
Who's the other one?
But that was a great answer, though.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, if you can get the other one, you deserve to win.
Viola's the best actress we have
Hands
right now,
down.
period. It's not even close.
Hands down.
And even Meryl, who beat her that year, said that Viola should have won it.
I don't think this is it, but no.
You about to say Precious?
Mm.
I don't remember her name, though.
Oh, they.
Was that it?
Yeah.
But
give me the actress.
Yeah, I don't know her name.
So we could just call her Precious after the movie came out.
Oh, her name is...
You on your way.
Giab.
Oh, she's got an African name, doesn't she?
It's not Gabrielle, is it?
No, it's not
It's like
Gabrielle. It's like Gabori Sidibe.
Yeah.
But
I'm
it is Precious.
G-A-B.
But the thing is that after the movie came out, we just all called her Precious for
I know,
like a
that's so
good
sad.
6-7 years. Like she had no name.
Guilty,
she was
guilty.
It was that powerful of a role.
Yeah, it really was.
But that's sad for her acting career, though, because she
said the same thing about Urkel.
I was going to say, we do that about a lot of people. I just think that it was...
It's a testament to their acting skills in that role. However, good luck finding something else.
No.
But that's the thing is that with certain roles, it's so specific to that.
Pigeonholed.
To that.
And I was gonna say it has. I feel like it has less to do with the acting and more to do with that role. For that to be your introductory role, and not introductory like she had never done it before, because that's not the case. It was just the fact that we had never paid that much attention. That's always gonna stick with you.
Yeah. No, she's been on TV shows and she's lost weight and like all these different things and stuff. So she's still found a niche in the game. And I mean, we got some amazing, beautiful black women like Queen Latifah and Monique and different people like that.
I'm not gonna lie though, that was Monique's best film.
Well, because she was even nominated for supporting actress.
No, she won everything that year.
Yeah,
she won. She deserved that.
She won everything. But
you know how you said like people want to throw your book at the wall and stuff like that. I want to throw my popcorn on Monique when she played in Precious. I wanted to throw my popcorn at her.
Oh my gosh, like that.
She was OD tough.
Yeah, she was on a whole other level.
Yeah,
like she was on her, but she played that role to the T. I was shocked. Like I didn't think she had it in her.
Yeah,
but yeah,
real.
Yeah.
So that was all 8 of them. Then
that was all 8.
Okay, well then we just called a draw for the first time.
That was all 8.
You know what? 2018 is getting ready to be over. I'm gonna give this the star.
There you go.
You won.
Thank you.
Take that gesture. 2-0.
I take winning.
You're very welcome. You did a good job.
What's the runaround topic we got right now?
Okay, so we kind of chatted about this a little bit earlier. Are you familiar with what the runaround is, or would you like one of us to explain it to you?
I know each one of us get to go.
Go ahead, Carl. Do your
for
thing.
About a minute.
The runaround is a halftime segment in between our episode to kill the monotony. Each person gets 1 minute to give their opinion on something, and we all chime in terms of participation, but we do not interrupt or anything like that. Everybody gets their stuff off, pretty much.
So I want you to pay attention to a couple of things. Listen.
And you know, he gave me the word monotony. I can't find another word to save my life.
He has that spiel down verbatim, so it's always cool to see him go through the process. But I don't know if you notice, and see, you're a writer and you go in front of people to speak, so you know the importance of either looking off in space to see the words in your mind before they come out of your mouth, or to just close your eyes completely so that, you know what I mean, you don't have any other distractions.
Say the punch.
So
I knew he was getting there. Say the damn punch.
So please believe we get a kick out of it every time seeing him go through that spiel. You can see when he getting ready to mess up because he be staring at something like, oh no, he gonna say base.
No, it's funny in the poetry community. They say you memorize in 3 different ways. You memorize the words, then you memorize with your heart, and then you memorize with your soul. And so when you memorize with your soul, if a plane was to crash right now, you'd be able to look at that and still spit what you're doing.
Oh, you got that Iggy.
And
that
then with
Iggy
your heart,
Azalea.
that's where the passion comes from. But if you only know the words, you're reading it in your head. And you're looking at the words, and you can tell if that's what's happening. And so like that was always a memorization kick.
Yeah, Carl, they can tell.
Yeah.
So cut that out.
Get this fool out of here. What's our topic, Cease?
So before we started recording, I was explaining to you all that there's something that I've been seeing here in abundance, and we talked about it on I actually made mention of it on a previous episode about the subject of homosexuality and how that's taken on for a male and a female, but then how members of society, mainly members of society who don't subscribe to being homosexuals, kind of put these labels on that for different people. So what I really want to know is within this 1 minute is, do you feel like the homosexual experience from the outside looking in is different for males and females? And do you feel like personally that you put certain criteria on it if it's a man or a woman? Does that make sense? I see you looking off into and how about I go first? And then maybe that will lead you all to some of.
And ask the question one more time. The actual question.
It's a broad question, so I feel like you can tackle it from so many different ways. But specifically for men and for women. So if you are a homosexual male or a homosexual female, do you feel like there are different things to either be concerned about, to educate yourself on, that other people have misconceptions about, and just, kind of throwing out a general dialogue about that in particular.
Okay.
So let me know when my time starts.
Let me pick a sound.
All right. There you go.
Hey. I was about to freestyle on that beat.
You on.
Run and go.
Okay. So the 2 things that kind of come to mind, the one thing that comes to mind for me that I feel like is just most descriptive of what I'm trying to convey right now is that when I think about two men being homosexual, and I'm not even going to say in a general sense, I'm talking about for myself, the first thing that comes to mind is sex. It's two men sleeping with one another. And I think for two women, one of the initial thoughts that I have is them being in more of a relationship that the foundation is companionship. And I feel like a lot of my biases and opinions come from how we are taught about homosexuality, the different misconceptions that come along with that. And I feel like it's one of those things where if they subscribe to that lifestyle, that we should all be doing a better job of just being more informed. You know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be having opinions on people who are gay unless you know gay people and are having these conversations with them about the things that they're experiencing and dealing with. Because I think it will open up your eyes to being able to not have enough time to finish your thought, but it's okay. So I think that you guys kind of get where I'm going.
Yeah, I got what you're going. So it's pretty open-ended.
Yeah. So since I went first, I get to pick the direction that we're going?
Sure.
Okay, Carl, you're going to go next.
All right.
Go.
All right. My thing is with homosexuality is one, like you said, I do look at it in two different viewpoints. And when I say that, I mean that, like, when I think of women, I think of the opportunity that they have to explore their sexuality. In terms of women, like, sometimes we'll look different, or as people, we'll look at people different in terms of, like, how they dress and stuff like that. But I feel like women, are able to explore both sides of their feminine and masculine qualities, and men aren't. You know what I mean? And looked at in a different light. So, for example, I would say that for women, you can go walk around with like a buzz cut or wear, male clothing. But if you see a man cross-dressing wearing, female clothing, it stands out a lot more to people in a public area than it would, a woman dressing up as a male. So that's one of the things that I think about. And then also, with homosexuality, I know specifically, like in the black community, it's a big struggle, especially among black men. I think more than anything, we really put an emphasis on pointing out what's gay and what's not gay. There we go.
All right. So I guess I'm next.
You see why this wasn't originally a runaround topic?
I know. Why would we make this a runaround?
It's okay. Go ahead.
Whose idea was that? It's interesting because I see a lot of different areas that this plays out in. So I feel like when you're still young, being a man and being homosexual is a little more dangerous than it is for women. Just in terms of like locker room, you hear way more stories about boys getting beat up for being gay or bullied for being gay than you hear about women. And then I think about like the college phase, and then it's like, well, if women are gay, it's all like, woo, she's like experimenting. This is so fun and free. And so like that's a whole nother level of like how it's expressed. But I think as we age, I think I do tend to think more of companionship when it comes to women. And I know a couple of my friends who are women and in relationships with other women will talk about like, it really is like loving and having a relationship with your best friend. And I'm like, well, that just sounds like love in general to me. But we don't think about it across the spectrum in the same way. And I think Cease was getting into that. You do think more sexually when you're at a gay bar, like, oh, you think, who's he gonna smash? Like, not look for companionship. We all running out of time today.
But I feel like that was when we originally created the runaround. I think that we wanted to be more precise with our thoughts, but then also not to kind of like run on too long so that we can say, okay, you know what? If I don't get it all out, I'm going to make sure I say this part. So here we go.
All right. Ole, do it.
The funny thing is that the only thing that makes you homosexual is your attraction to the same sex. Us as society has attached external activities and expression to something that is homosexual. And that's always been a dichotomy that's been weird to me. Some of the best men that I've learned how to be a man from are homosexuals. The worst man who I learned how to be a man from, who was the dude who helped my mom make me, is the worst version of a man I would want to be, and he's hyper masculine. So it's always been, it's interesting to me now at age 32, where some of the men who are my role models and some of the men that show me the kind of man I want to be are homosexual. And so our viewpoint of what quote unquote is gay, I feel like is losing its connotation because of the diversity of gay men.
I was gonna let you keep going too.
Yeah, you thought that was your time. That was just Star's Tinder going off.
Oh. That was just your phone going on?
That was my phone going off.
That was
Thanks,
the Tinder
Nate.
notification.
No, it wasn't. Not that time.
Yo,
That's a different ring.
And I know this is the runaround, and you, like you said, you want to sandwich this in, and this will, probably be the one thing I want to wrap up with and ask you guys in this, is that, do you guys feel like gender-specific roles is what created masculinity and femininity? Like jobs that men are supposed to do typically throughout history, and jobs that women are supposed to do in terms of like yielding children, taking care of those children, men going out to work and stuff like that.
I think at one point it kind of just was the way things had to be. Like if you go back to hunter-gatherer-esque type days, women's just weren't going out in the fields and working.
See, he's not rolling with you.
No, I feel like gender roles are primarily based in power and control.
Okay, but if we were back in the day and your whole purpose was to procreate and continue your family genes, and the only way to procreate was through a woman's womb.
That would make me feel like that if I was in that time and I was a woman, I'd feel like I was the most powerful being. So not only would I do that very significant job, I would do the other ones too.
But see, I think we've turned money into power, because when you think about work...
No, hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
So when I'm thinking about those things, we talked about procreation, but when we're talking about gathering food and raising children, I feel like men, in a toxic way, have created certain amounts of value for certain things that they do, and then have simultaneously discredited a lot of the things that women do. And now we have these gender roles where certain things seem more significant than others, when it doesn't have to be like that.
I mean, our world is centered around patriarchy. So
yeah,
gender roles were created for the comfort of men.
Yeah.
Because to be quite honest, when we look at things that men typically don't do that women do well, and vice versa, I think there are more things that women can do that technically are stuff we're supposed to do than the other way around.
Yeah.
And so in order to continue that power structure of patriarchy, men had to make it seem as if the things that women were doing were less than.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you were referring to in regards to to motherhood, which is the most powerful thing you can potentially do on this planet. We've even found a way to lessen that as a behavior. The fact that women have to pay for feminine hygiene products, like, that should be free. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's part of the world. That's part of putting this box around women and what they're capable of doing. And you wonder why they're screaming and clawing out of that box nowadays. And women are doing stuff completely out of our historical norms. And a lot of men can't handle it. Like, it's a difficult thing to watch, because not only are they doing what you do better than you, they're still doing what they do better than us. Right. So it's like, now where's my space? So then the only space that I can go back to is how I was raised, which is within the context of anger, violence, and power. And so you end up going back to that as your backup in order to keep the spot that you had created in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Which is why I asked that question, because you were talking earlier and you were talking about, like, you like to do mudding and stuff like that, or get your nails done and stuff. I feel like we put those things in a box that, like, those are the things that women are supposed to do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? As a young man, my friends would say, oh, that's gay.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's the term that you would use. Like, that's a gay, meaning that's what a man does that likes to do women things. You know what I mean? Which, it shouldn't be that way. I mean, that's just taking care of yourself at the end of the day.
When literally being gay is the only definition of it is what you're attracted to.
Yeah.
We're the only I have a poem called Mirror, Mirror, and I actually was thinking about writing a book on it, but I have a poem called Mirror, Mirror, and the first half of the poem is about a boy who's a fashion designer, and he uses himself as his own mannequin. So he wears his designs and his makeup and stuff on his person. So he'll wear leggings to school, blouses, all the whole nine. He looks feminine. He gets picked on at school, talked about at school. He goes home to a supermodel all the boys who are trying to beat him up would want. That's the first half of the poem. Mm-hmm. The second half of the poem is the star running back, who everybody thinks is a man's man, who's going on recruiting trips to colleges. And usually when you go on those recruiting trips, the myth is that girls get sent to you, right? He's having boys sent to him. Now, he's clearly being treated like a man's man because he's externally presenting himself as a quote unquote man's man. And the end of the poem says, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, what's the most dangerous stereotype of them all?" Because we're punishing this kid for externally looking like quote unquote a woman, when the one thing that makes you a straight man he is doing on a regular basis, which is being with a woman. It doesn't matter how I'm with the woman. Prince is one of the most effeminate dudes of all time. And if my girl came home and said, "Babe, I cheated on you," and I said, "With who?" She said, "Prince," I'd be like, "Really? High five. Let's talk about it." Because Prince, not one of my girls, was dope. He was 5'2" with platform shoes on and a blouse, and he would take all of our women from us.
In a perm.
Horseback ride.
In a perm.
Like he had a piggyback ride to the stage from his bodyguard.
And I think that's a true lesson in never judge a book by its cover, because if we're just taking it back to relating it to sports, legend has it that he was an amazing basketball player.
Yeah.
And one of his greatest gifts was the fact that...
Is that where that Charlie Murphy thing came from? Never knew that.
No.
Really?
Never knew that.
And when he passed away, you should hear how many people had stories about Prince being like, "Seeing you out in public, want a ball?"
That's crazy.
And then, people are like, "All right, what's this all about?" Sends a driver, picks him up.
The Minnesota Timberwolves used to treat him like royalty whenever he would show up. He used to be a huge Minnesota Timberwolves fan because he loved basketball.
Yeah.
And Minnesota worshipped him. So
never knew that.
yeah, man, he actually was a baller at 5'2".
All right.
Which is extremely important, because it's like
Muggsy Bogues
like you
status.
said, we're attaching all these things to something that they don't attach to.
Yeah, their characteristics.
We have
just
these social constructs that we've created so that we could label people just because that's what we tend to do. We
like little stuff like a dude with a high pitched voice. We automatically.
Are you describing yourself though? Because you do have a unique voice.
No, when I was younger, I definitely dealt with that. I definitely dealt with that. And when I got older, my voice changed, but at a level where it's enough to where I don't get it questioned like it used to.
Yeah.
Right.
But I can still, occasionally if I'm hype or whatever, hit random noises. I mean, octaves and whatnot.
I do it on the podcast all the time.
Yeah, but when I was younger though, I always dealt with that.
Yeah.
And what was funny was I always tell people that I had all the characteristics that should have got picked on. I was little, I was church going, didn't curse, good grades, well behaved.
Like
I had, and I didn't want to add that one,
Okay.
but yeah, that was actually part of it too. So,
He said light skin.
and so
I bring up light skin.
So I had all the characteristics of usually the stereotypically bullied. What separated me was I was an athlete. So I played ball with all the dudes who ended up being future gang members or in jail and all this other stuff. Got a respect level from them because I could ball, because I was a hooper.
Yeah.
And so they grew up to be like, "Oh, that's just smart. That's just little smart Ronald." Like, you know how when you grow up, everybody has a characteristic attached to him. Like, yo, Ronald? Like, Ronald who? Little short Ronald. Or little smart Ronald. That was always me.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of my way out of being seen in that light. But man, but people who met me outside of my school circle or my sports circle and stuff, like outside in the world, I immediately got tagged with all kinds of labels. Got picked on at Martin Luther King Park one time in the pool by this group of kids or whatever. And I had to keep going underwater just to keep from them talking to me. But I was like,
you a black man who can swim too? Oh, snap. No, I'm just kidding. We're breaking all kinds of stereotypes over here.
Would you say
you reading and swimming?
Reading and swimming. I swim
Reading
while I read.
and swimming.
You got to think about it. Martin Luther King Park. It was a couple children of color in that pool.
Oh yeah, we were all for sure. That was a rite of passage.
It was a couple of white people.
Anywhere you find a King Boulevard, King Park,
Freeway,
understand.
Yeah,
Burger King.
You want to find?
Hey, that's real too.
Hey,
you only see Burger Kings in the hood.
There's certain places. There's certain things that are only where you find black. I have never seen a church's chicken near white folks.
That's a good point. There's only one in
And
San
what's
Diego
funny is that
know.
it's the most unseasoned chicken possible. You would think it would be near white
churches.
folks.
Wow.
You ever had one of their biscuits? I'm still chewing. Last time I had one was 8 years ago. I'm still chewing.
You need some more water?
It doesn't help.
Oh,
I've given up. I've given up.
That's funny.
Oh man. So Ronald, anything you want to wrap up with? We really enjoyed your time, man. You're a real deep brother, man.
Appreciate
I
it.
know. I'm like, I have so many conversations I want to have with y'all right now.
But I do have a specific question for you.
Yes,
So we've highlighted you as an author first and foremost. But what's something else that you've been working on that maybe isn't in the limelight
Or
that you
something
can share
that we
with
can
us?
look forward to.
Yeah.
Well, So I'm currently a master's in education student at the University of San Diego.
All right.
And I'm getting my teaching credential in English.
Okay.
All at the same time, 1-year program. I'm done in July.
Beautiful.
And I'm currently a student teacher at Morris High School, which is my alma mater. My 10th grade English teacher is now the principal. So me and her have been close since then. I was her second year teaching. And so recently we had what we call the Young Brother Book Club convocation. And I'm big on literacy. And so in January, we had a literacy fair at the World Beat Center where we raised $5,000 in 2.5 weeks to purchase 300 books for Black boys.
Awesome.
Each boy left with a backpack that said Young Brother Book Club on it with a design, and they each left with 3 books. And it was 1 nonfiction, 1 fiction, and one woman writer. So they all had to leave with at least 1 woman writer in their bags. And so we did that. The numbers weren't what we expected, but it started a movement. And I became basically an ice cream truck of books. I always had books on me. If I ran into a kid, I'd be like, how old are you? They tell me their age. I hand them a book. And we basically passed out about 280 books to young men throughout the city. At Morris, I asked to have access to all of our Black males. Over 100 Black boys were in one room in the auditorium at Morris High School with 35 Black men mentors from the community.
Wow.
And it was powerful.
Yeah, Nate Howard there?
I know Nate. Nate's one of my boys with Movement B. He actually didn't check his Facebook Messenger in time to see my invite, and then he found out afterwards, and he was like, "Yo, we got to work together." So me and Nate, it was funny because I've known Nate, and me and Nate knew of each other for like a 2-year stretch where our mutual friends kept saying, "Y'all two need to meet," and then we finally had a 3-hour conversation, and then boys.
Y'all need to have a one-on-one game too.
Well, that's what. I'm terrible now. I've seen him play though. I might be able to get him, but I love him to death though. That's my boy. Shout out to Nate. But
He knows his movements.
So that day we had almost 200 Black men, boys, men. Almost 150 Black men and boys in one room. And our call and response with the Young Brother Book Club is, I am loved, I am appreciated, I matter. And we had the boys we said it to the boys said it back to us, and then they all left with a copy of the autobiography of Malcolm X. And so we're going to start the book club in January 16th at the school. And the plan is to create a model at Morris and then pitch it to the other Southeast high schools. So now we're going to try to get book clubs at each school to where now walking around with a book in your hand is going to be just as cool as walking around with a ball in your hand.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to keep a paperback book in my back pocket just so if I had to walk through certain areas, I'd be reading.
Yeah.
And you can't get street cred for beating up some dude who's reading. And so, it was what it was. But that's one of my major projects right now. Part of the proceeds from Vinnie is going towards a scholarship we're starting for a Southeast San Diego Black male. We got about $2,000 set aside for a kid. I haven't decided if I'm going to split them up into smaller scholarships or give it to one, but we're going to be doing that. And yeah, just making sure that I'm always just working and writing. I'm about to start working on book 2. I'm planning on having a love letter series. I didn't say this earlier, but the love letter portion of the book, the love letter is to masculinity. Mm-hmm. So Vinnie, a love letter is a love letter to masculinity. And in the cards for the rest of the books, there's going to be a love letter to trauma. There's going to be a love letter to consent. And then the last one is a love letter to love. And so it's going to be a powerful, I'm hoping to drop a book on my birthday every year for the next 3 years. So
you gonna be a busy man.
Yeah.
Not all heroes wear capes.
Hey, some of us just wear Hampton University alumni T-shirts. Hey, I'll let your boy. But yeah, I'm thankful for the time y'all allowed me to come over here.
I appreciate you coming and dropping that knowledge.
So real quick before we end, you ever been on the podcast before?
Yeah, I was on the Jig Is Up with Marcus Vaughn.
Mm-hmm. Shout out, sister, brother podcast.
Yeah,
I don't know what you would call it.
Yeah,
we supposed to link up with them too.
Yeah. Jig Is Up. I went to high school with Marcus. And
there you go.
Awesome.
Yeah. So he brought me on, and we had a 2.5 hour conversation about some hilarious stuff. That was really a lot of fun. And I've had a few interviews, and I'm going to be on the literary at the Grossmont College is having a literary arts festival in April, and I'm going to be on their self-publishing panel for that. Awesome. And I've done some other speaking engagements and stuff. A lot of it's just centered around the themes of the book. which are, the toxic masculinity portion. I'm more focused on changing the wording more so to hyper masculinity, because toxic masculinity is starting to get a negative a certain connotation that is being more difficult to control. And so I think hyper masculinity is more in line with exactly what I'm trying to talk about.
Because it's a spectrum.
Yeah, there's definitely
more
a spectrum.
than it is.
Yes, toxic is more on
it's like a point.
On an extreme. Hyper masculinity is just everything they've told us we should be. You are all the time. And so, but yeah, writing saves lives. Literacy saves lives. It saved mine, and I just promote it to as many kids as humanly possible. And if I can get one kid to read or one kid to write, I did my job.
There you go.
And the lyrical exchange that you were talking about, you said it's the second Tuesday of the month. This is the big anniversary one coming up in January.
No, so it's the first Tuesday. So,
first Tuesday, but
no, first Tuesday actually this year is I think
New Year's.
Day. So it's actually gonna be the following week this year.
Okay, so Tuesday the 8th, and what time is that?
It's starts at 8. Doors open at 7:30, but because it's an anniversary night, you definitely want to get there early. We are in the 150 plus on those nights. And
that's at Queen Bee and
at
North
Queen
Park.
Bee's in North Park. Yep, it's our 6-year anniversary. And Elevated, which was the premier open mic in San Diego prior to us, they were our big sister venue. They lasted for 10. And so our goal is to try to at least get
11.
to that level. No. We don't want to pass.
You don't want to pass? Seriously?
No. The respect level we have for Elevated, I would love to get to 10 and stop.
But what if you guys stop and that is literally like the missing piece of the community? I don't necessarily think surpassing is disrespect.
It's not. It's just more so on between me and Ra. Like I left Lyrical Exchange to focus on teaching. He is now headed to teaching, and having to be at the open mic on Tuesday nights till 11 o'clock, and then having to wake up the next day and having to teach.
It's rough.
It gets kind of draining. So unless he plans on staying for a long time, which I don't think he would want to be there, too much longer. I think if we just get to 10 and make that the goal, and then both of us can let go of it, knowing that we've impacted over 10,000 something lives over the course of our time, and we can be proud of that.
Well, I would hope that you guys select your successors and then start training them up so that when your 10 is over, that art isn't lost here in San Diego.
Yeah.
And so on a personal level, I know we're getting ready to get up out of here. I just want to say a couple of things. Is that I'm actually going to buy the book.
Oh, appreciate it.
I got it on my Kindle.
I'm going to buy it for Carl too. And what we're going to do here at Grown Folks Business Podcast is we're actually going to do a book review.
Oh, bet.
Now we're very honest folks. So
I
would want you to be.
So I'm quite sure that they're, just given the fact that we're gonna be throwing the book and cussing at the book and blaming the book for the body we used to have, like the whole thing.
For real,
for the body we
do
used to have.
Hey, I'll come back for the book review.
No,
I'm down to be face to face with it.
So this is the point that I'm going to make. Yeah. I was gonna buy Star a copy, but this is even better since she has a copy. So the copy
I might
that
have
I was
to get a hard copy if we're doing a review, because I'm gonna be able to.
You're not going to get it from me, because now the book that I was going to give to you, I'm going to give it to a listener. Okay. And have them read the book too. And even people that don't get a free copy from me, I'm going to ask them to engage in the conversation, so that hopefully for that particular episode where we do the book review, as opposed to random word on the street, we can get commentary about the book.
I like that.
Or we'll read it, or if we're fast readers, and I tend to be most of the time, I'll read the book and I'll give it to somebody else, and hopefully and have them promise to give it to at least one more person. That way we can get a roundtable discussion about a topic that I feel like is extremely important, and one that if we became more aware of and just kept in the forefront of our mind, we could be more instrumental in being that positive change that we ultimately need to see happen. So our young men, not even just our young men, but our young women also can really embrace their identities, instead of having to feel like they have to try everything in their power to stifle them, as opposed to worrying about what they should be worrying about, which is being kids and young adults and, and thriving individuals. I feel like these are things that have a hold on people for long periods of time. And if we were just able to have the conversation, the cool people, the people at the table where you think to themselves, like, I couldn't tell Star.
I will say this. One, first, appreciate that. Two, get it from, for those of you who are going to pick up the book itself, get it from rprestonclark.com. Okay. Which is my website.
Talk your shit.
Because I'm gonna give y'all a little inside scoop on how Amazon works. My book is $20, if it gets purchased on Amazon, I get 8.
Mm.
If you purchase it from me, I get 16.
Hey.
How much do you get for the Kindle copy?
The Kindle copy was what, like $8? No, it was $10 for Kindle. I maybe got like for Kindle. I think I maybe got 4 or 5. Yeah. So Amazon is great in regards to reach, in regards to cut. It's not the case. So I made it to where if you get it straight from me, it's guaranteed to be signed. I sign all my copies. I personalize all my messages. Like, that's my favorite part about having a book is signing it. Like, I love that part.
Would you sign it with my alias instead of my real name?
I don't care what you want.
Okay.
I'm gonna have you order mine so I don't have to pay more shipping.
Yeah, no,
I have the books. I have the books in my car.
With
I have the books in my car. So
No.
I got 3 copies right now.
Oh, they do it.
Oh yeah, I told you I'm the ice cream truck. I'm the ice cream truck of books.
Go ahead, Venmo you when we get off mic.
I like that. Okay.
All right, y'all.
Anything else you guys want to ask this gentleman before we give him an opportunity to tell us anything he'd like to tell us before we get up out of here?
Can't do it unless we gonna make this a whole episode.
All right, Star, spoken her final piece.
All right, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Sir?
Stay black, stay beautiful, and if you see a kid, hand him a book.
There you go.
And if y'all not already black and can't stay black, support black
Just
people.
love your black friends. Love your black friends.
Yeah, stay supporting black people.
That's real. Be loud with them.
So,
not be loud with them.
Stereotypically.
Carl, you
Made
just
up
had
a word.
You just had a birthday.
I did.
How old did you turn?
46.
No, how old did you really turn?
29.
So,
could have fooled me.
So 10 years previous to that, how old were you?
19.
Okay, and a year previous to that, how old?
9.
And you were 18 the year previous to that. And when you turned 18, you were what?
Wait, say that again?
You were grown, Carl. You were grown.
We do this every episode. He always messes up. So, Star, I'm grown.
I'm grown too.
Sir?
I'm grown.
Shit, we all grown.
And this has been the RunAround, another segment on
The RunAround.
Grown folks business.
No, we always do the RunAround.
Hey, start with the Shaw. It's different.
It's okay. It's okay. So,
Not Shaw. No, I'm not tolerating that.
We out. In the news.
oh, we're still going to do it in the news? Okay, we'll make this one quick because it was kind of silly, but it was still important.
All right.
Okay, so...
We ain't gonna do no music.
Okay.
Man, I was like, he be trying to do the shortcut run on all of it, man.
I had unplugged it because I didn't know if we were even going to
Somebody specifically came up to me maybe like 10 episodes ago, and I was like, man, y'all so much better now, like the drops
With the
and stuff like
soundboard and
that.
the drops,
and I was
now
like, man, I
he's
don't even want to give him the props on his timeliness. And now he like, man, I'm the master of
like, I
drops. I
made
ain't
it.
even got to
We
give you
made
no
it.
drops. That's the crazy part.
I really thought the podcast was over, if we were just being honest.
You just want to be done.
I mean, I didn't know. Do we really need this? We don't need this. Anyway, so in the news. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, 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 dun. I don't even know. Dun, dun, dun. No, that's SportsCenter.
Oh, that's
That's definitely...
no, that's Monday Night Football.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely Monday Night Football. You gotta make sure you get your call. I just noticed you got ripped jeans on. All right, girl, go ahead.
Well, first of all, y'all roasted me for never dressing.
Oh, you up
anymore.
today? You was like,
well, we had to take a picture with our guest.
yeah,
so.
and you was like, yo, we got company now. We definitely don't need for the culture though, because he gave us so much for the culture.
He is the culture.
Yeah.
Okay, so listen, in the news real quick. How y'all feel about robots taking over?
I'm not here for it.
Because, okay, so no, and so I'm going to say something real serious, and then we can get our jokes off, and then we can get up out of here. But do you remember being younger and how they used to really push, like, that the machines were going to take over and the mark of the
1984,
beast
the
and all that good stuff?
Yeah.
But do we not feel like a lot of that stuff that we fantasized at that point as not really being something that could happen is slowly happening?
It's happening.
Yo,
No,
I
sure.
just hate the fact that like you can go on like look up something on Target or whatever, and then go to Instagram,
Well,
and then
that's
it
simple
pops up in
cookies.
your feed. Huh?
That's simple cookies.
Nah. You shouldn't be able to go to the exact shoe that I was looking at.
That's simple cookies.
That's crazy.
That's literally
that
like,
ain't so. And then
No,
Facebook
because
selling
when you
our
go on the-
information and stuff like that
No, because when
too.
you go on the website, it literally has a clause like you're authorizing us to use this for advertisement. Like, no, you're agreeing to that. So then, what you are shopping on, they use those cookies, and they have like and I do this for our job, so this is why I'm like I know this stuff. So then after you do that, there's like an advertisement contract, and they just literally loop whatever you're looking at.
They do the same thing with all our information anyway. With anything we do, they got all our info.
But Elon Musk had an interview a while back where he was saying like
you guys need to slow down. There's so much information and things that you don't understand, but y'all are just going, and y'all need to stop because you don't understand the magnitude of power.
So
this Elon Musk.
I have a big question after you.
Oh, this isn't a big question, but go ahead, ask yours.
Do you guys, so when you said that, and do you guys put money on apps and stuff like that, like saving apps? That's what scares me more than anything.
Why?
Because if they attack your funds, they got everything at that point. Like I have an app where I'm trying to like save up money.
Like Albert?
This one is called Capital with a Q. I'm not even trying to give them shine like that. They ain't giving us no bag.
Say what you use the app.
It's called Capital with a Q. And so basically it takes money out of your
capital.
Make it quap.
Anyway, because they want us to stay on task. They want us to stay on task so bad. But it's called Capital, and like you put, it takes money out of your checking based off of the saving plan that you chose on there. So at the end of the year, when it's all said and done, there's a significant amount of money that's going to be in there. So stuff like that, I don't
know about those. I don't use one I use Acorns, which is similar, but they take money out and invest it in like stocks and bonds and stuff. But my savings one like that was.
Why you shaking your head?
Because, man, I had jokes to get off, and y'all getting real serious right now.
Go ahead, get your jokes off. Go ahead.
Mine like that is located inside of my bank app, so I don't use a secondary app to do that stuff.
Yeah, I don't want them to take my funds. I don't want them to take my funds and hit me with an anal probe. There you go. There's the opening for jokes.
So what if you meet a man and you out, right?
Hey, Zaddy.
And you like him, y'all really vibing and whatnot. Let me get into the mic when I tell this story, right?
Let me drop my voice too.
He take you out on a couple of dates. You like, okay, this might be the one. And then he sit you down, similar to the bizarre email episode, and he goes, "Star, I gotta tell you something.
What you gotta say, Zaddy?
I'm a robot."
Shut up! I don't like that.
What if he was a robot? Because that's literally, I mean, we've seen
We've seen iRobot.
Well, no, I'll do you one better. We've seen the videos and the pictures of the sex dolls. It's coming.
You got to get them for an oil change, too. The robots. You got to take them in for an oil change.
See, he trying to be extra funny. No, but I'm saying, so if we get to the point where robots is on Tinder and you still looking for a man, would you date a robot?
No. Because...
they had that on Black Mirror.
Oh, and they just came out with a new
interactive game.
Yeah,
all right. Don't say nothing. But you never seen Black Mirror?
Don't worry about it. Would you date a robot?
I'm scared. No, I wouldn't date a robot.
Would you at least let him hit?
Hit what?
Huh?
Hit what is crazy?
Your circuit board.
They've been had robots for women to hit. So
that's hey, never mind. So that's a yes.
Time to get up out of here, y'all. Don't make me answer. Don't make me answer.
Listen,
that ain't new to the women.
No. Is it cheating?
No.
Is it cheating if you get your little robot?
Let me ask.
Smashing a robot has a whole new.
No, listen,
baby. Can I smash a robot?
Smashing robots have a whole new conversation.
She ain't gonna answer me.
Would you smash a robot?
Nah,
if
man.
you was single?
No.
Your girl left you.
I'm not even doing the fleshlight. Like
look,
I'm not doing
fleshlight.
I'm not doing.
Look, your girl left you, and you got like 2,500 in your flex savings spendings account.
Yo, wait a minute.
Oh, whoa! That would be wild if they let you use that for sexual health.
Grown Folks Business. That's BIZNESS.
That'd be wild.
Facebook and Instagram. Y'all can find us.
Listen, and
that'd be wild.
Think about some of the most, and not saying this is a great idea, but think about some of the most influential ideas. They probably started off
as a joke,
as something sounded crazy.
Absolutely, the Wright brothers talking about flying. What?
And we provide so many liberties to so many different things that at some point it would be hard for me to imagine that we wouldn't be providing it. Oh, people are sex deprived, and now it's a mental illness because
sexual health matters.
Now we got to get them the sex doll. And Carl got 2,500.
Prescribed it.
Yeah, Carl got 2,500 in his
insurance covered.
Sex doll is definitely going for $15K, easy.
Well, listen, I'm saying no. The first ones, but you gonna get you a Dollar Tree sex doll?
If I'm gonna get me a sex doll, I'm definitely gonna get me the Maserati of sex dolls.
But Carl, you can't.
I need full knee bend.
You can't even afford the Maserati of cars. How you gonna?
I need a full.
She has to be able to hold sturdy. You got to be able to put her on her arms and her knees.
Full D bit
Hey,
is crazy.
Hold sturdy. She got to be sturdy.
Hey, if
Oh,
we ever
man.
lead the podcast pals and Carl pulling a whole woman out the closet.
Come on, girl.
Nah, because she can't look like one of those CPR dolls, but it's only like half her body.
Do you guys remember that Office episode?
I don't watch those.
Oh, with Stanley, yeah.
Nah, I need a full. Mine need to walk and talk just like me, like
no,
Black
not
Mirror.
walk and talk.
Yeah, it's got to feel real.
That's
I don't want to feel like I'm
creepy.
humping metal.
Humping?
Yeah.
You gonna be humping the sex doll?
It's a sex doll.
You can hump the couch.
Well, I'm gonna let.
Hump your couch.
That's what I'm saying. No, see, y'all
All right, so
y'all
let's-
forcing me to answer this. I don't want to do that. I didn't want a sex doll.
No, that's
He
we.
said, I didn't even want this.
I didn't even want this
It's not a sex doll.
Yo,
It's
if,
a sex
even want no
robot.
sex
if,
doll.
if Preston didn't come in today, I definitely would have named this. I didn't want the sex doll. We had to wait until an hour, 2 hours in before
Hey.
we had to add some jokes off. But I wish I could name
Yo,
it
we
that.
need to change our category to comedy, bro.
I know y'all don't like looking at the descriptions and the timestamps, but you might want to check them out for this episode. That's all I'm gonna say. You might miss some stuff.
We don't know what the title of this episode is going to be.
All right, y'all. So I got the day off tomorrow, so I'm trying to start living.
Yeah, I'm
about
trying to
be
get up
mixing,
outta
so we're
here.
gonna Get up out of here.
Get
So
lit.
Yep.
We going out, Cease?
let's go.
they do
I
it.
got
I'm
time.
still sick.
That's fine. We wasn't.
No,
asking
you going to be sick because your smooth mood about to kick in any minute now.
It's about to smoothly go through.
All right.
We know.
All right, y'all. So based upon this conversation, I can definitively say that I'm grown.
I'm grown too.
Shit, we all grown.
And this has been another episode of
From Folks Business.
No, I ain't gonna do that today. Not today. Play the music.